Time we'll call the Tuesday, August 30th, 2022 meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors to order. Larry McDevitt, Mike Steins, and myself, Jack Willie, are your supervisors. We have Lisa Smith and Bjorn Beck from the auditor's office, and I guess Luann's taking a few days off. So our first item on the agenda is Todd Kenny. Morning, Todd.
Good morning. Okay, so we were just kind of talking about this, but the item for action is to authorize the chair to sign the agreement with the DOT for paving fillets off of 62 going back onto the gravel roads. There's 7 intersections. I think it's roughly around $55,000–$56,000. So this is money that we would need to budget for in fiscal year 24. So the project's going to happen in construction year 23. So we would not reimburse them until fiscal year 24. So we would have to budget for it when we talk about budget November, December. So.
I'm sorry, Todd. What road is this on?
62.
62 from Andrew to Belg or all the way through?
From Macokota to Andrew, just north of Andrew it stops. So it stops, I think, where 62 breaks off and
Goes
more toward.
to 50th.
Yeah. Yes, 250 it looks like, yeah.
So from Macokota to
Andrew, north of Andrew.
North of Andrew, but the intersections are all south that they're gonna be doing. But
So
the
they're
state's
only
gonna-
overland from Macokota to Andrew?
yes,
And that, really?
Golden Place Recycle and Overlay.
What about the rest of it?
Yeah, talk to the state.
It'd be nice to do that Springbrook Road. About halfway down there.
Which one?
Oh,
E17 from Andrew over you?
no, on 62, about halfway between Andrew and Bellevue.
Well, yeah, I mean, they ground it all off 7-8 years ago already, but they haven't done anything to it.
Well, I mean, just the fillets on it.
We ain't doing fillets on it until they're overlaying it, right?
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
okay.
the state's really good about when they're gonna be doing a project, they do this as obviously in Clinton County too. They'll send me an email, say, hey, is the county wanting to do these paid fillets? And obviously 99.9% of the time we're gonna do it.
From what I've seen them on that Springbrook Belgian road, it's well worth it.
I don't know, Mary's mouth was watering for fillets, so.
I thought it was fish.
yeah, pay for the projects, huh?
Well, we have a carryover, right?
Well, I can't wait to spend that.
We know.
Well, that's it. Let's hear any more questions about that.
You need action on that?
Yep, we do.
I would make a motion to, on the pre-construction agreement. That's presented, or Tuesday.
I would say.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And this is for next year's budget,
If 24.
24. All those in favor?
All right,
Aye, motion carried.
you said 50, around 56.
55 to 65,000.
How many was there? 8?
7.
55 to which?
55 to 65,000.
Oh, okay.
So you're almost talking 8 to 9,000 per.
So they pay for the first 10 feet. So they'll pave a 10-foot shoulder along the gravel road. Anything beyond that, that's what the county is paying for. So
And all we're paying for is the asphalt, or is there a personal kind of prep to it besides something we can?
we're paying for everything. The contractor will core out the gravel and then they'll pour or lay their asphalt. We're paying. It's a bid item under the state's contract.
So we're doing 50 foot or 100 foot?
I think these are.
Or do we
Where's
have
the
the
agreement?
50 foot hardly seems long enough for a grader to make. Turn
I
around.
thought you said 75 to start with.
So if you're going 50, if you're paying for 50, you're actually getting 60 because they're giving you 10 for free.
I mean, I'd rather see more, I think.
Yeah, he's usually got a detail. I don't see it in this agreement. But it might be an attachment to this that Mike printed out. I'll check with Mike, but I'm gonna guess it's whatever your standard is. this, I'm assuming this isn't the first time you guys have done this.
No, we did it on the overlay that from Bellevue.
Yeah, so typically, whatever the county requests, that's what they typically figure in. But if you want to change it, you can change it. Like if you want to increase it or decrease it. This number, the quote they gave us doesn't, you're gonna pay what the unit prices are.
Right.
So if you want to go a little bit farther, or shorter or longer, that's fine. You're gonna pay for what they place.
Okay, this may be an odd question. Did we vote on that, by the way, Jack?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, we're still in discussion.
Okay. So my question is, if they do that, if they do whatever, 7,500 feet, whatever it is. So this guy's got a $3 million house at another 100 feet up the road. Can he pay for that? If he wanted it.
Extension?
Have it hard surfaced up to his
Yeah.
driveway.
Well, you would have to have a policy to address that. So my guess is you would have to run through the county. So that property owner would have to reimburse the county. You would have to have some kind of a policy to deal with this, that they're gonna pay, the section that they're gonna do, I would probably have it thicker than it, whatever this overlay or 5 or 6 inches it is, but they're not gonna be able to contract with the state. I would almost, you could talk to Sam today, but I'd almost guarantee you the state isn't gonna say, yeah, we'll do a separate side contract with you to reimburse us. So they're gonna say, you put this on the fill-in work the county's doing, and the county can get paid if they wanna go extend it.
Because it'd have to go through the county first. I mean, he can't make an agreement with the contractor and say. I mean, we'd have to.
Well, you'd have to get a working right of way permit first.
Right.
That's where we would have control over that, yeah. So you'd have to have a policy in place to deal with those kind of requests, I would say.
What is it, 300 Avenue over there?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure which one.
Is he talking about his own road? No.
Probably.
No, his is big. Yeah, get that number right. I think about a third of your own of it.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And then you have one more item, and this must be, the resignation is on my agenda. Okay, that's for Gilbert, I'm assuming.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Well, we got I'm assuming that's what it is. I guess I didn't get anything else, information about that, but we have employees resigning, truck driver out in Macokota. So we posted his job, and there's been, oh God, I'm gonna screw this up, but there's been a grader operator out of one of the sheds bid to the truck. I think it was Matt Clemming bid to it. Somebody else bid to his grader, and then somebody else bid to that grader. So we're about probably 3 weeks away from finding out where the opening is gonna be, but we will have an opening. And I need to talk to Becky too, I'd like to get that change where we don't have to post it for 10 days. I mean, we post it for 5 internally. I know externally, when you post it to the public, you have to post it for 10 days.
Mhm.
When you're posting it internally to your work group, I don't want to say union, but you guys have a union, but so when you post it internally, it doesn't need to be 10 days.
No.
Because otherwise 10 days is 2 weeks, and every time somebody bids to it, you gotta repost it. It takes forever to find out where the opening is.
Okay, so the only way it's posted right now is internally,
Correct.
as is point. So we don't have it out for the public until we even know which is open.
Correct. We don't know whether it's gonna be a truck, a grader, or where it's at until the bidding's done.
Okay.
So every time the opening changes, then.
We
the-
repost it for 10 more days.
Another 5 days,
10 days.
10 days.
Really? So each movement has to be done for 10 days?
Yes.
Really?
Is that by union contract?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll check. That's one thing I wanted to check when I was talking to Mike this morning before I came in here is that if it's not in the handbook or the contract, then I would like to reduce that to 5 days, because most of the time, if a guy is gonna bid to it, he knows what he's gonna bid to it.
Is that done by seniority too?
Typically, so if you have 2 guys bid it and they're both qualified, if they have equal qualifications, then the default is to seniority.
So for the minutes, are you telling who resigned? Or I don't need to put that in?
Well, for this,
You want us to prove his resignation?
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do this. If it was me, I'd have a resolution for you to accept his accept his resignation and then terminate the warrants for his payroll. But I don't know how you guys do that.
We don't do it by resolution. We don't,
By motion?
we just do it by motion to accept. We don't do it by resolution.
Okay. I'll tell you what, since there's no hurry, let me verify that and I'll put it on the agenda again.
Okay.
And then if you do it by motion, do you have a written motion or is it just somebody makes a
In the
motion?
minute.
Somebody makes the motion
Yes,
and
Okay,
you approve it.
I mean, I can show you what we put in the minutes for previous resignations if you'd like.
okay.
But to me, I mean, you've already posted the position, so I mean, usually what he does is he presents what's been done, is you present the resignation and then you ask for approval. But maybe it doesn't need to be done that way for the internal and external posting.
Yeah, really, the only thing that has to be done by board action is to stop warrants for payroll.
So, I mean, we can talk to Becky about that to see if this needs to be changed. How's that? Does that sound fair? Yeah.
And then at some point, yeah, the board will have to do an actual action of the board, whether it be motion or whatever.
Yeah.
To terminate payroll
Yeah.
for it. So.
Yeah.
There's no hurry, so. Okay. I'll verify that. Okay. All right, and then last on the destination lighting. So I have a draft policy. We got the 14 lights that currently don't have them. We have the cost estimate from a electrical contractor for putting up a concrete base with a breakaway pole, the more expensive installation. We're waiting for a contractor to get us quote back for just a regular wood pole with a luminary. That would be the less expensive one. And then depending on where we can place the poles, if we can get them outside the clear zone, which is typically 10 feet, then we can use the less expensive one. And then once I identify what type of pole it's going to have and the cost, I will come back to you with the proposal. There's 14 spots. I mean, the lowest ADT intersecting leg is 70 vehicles per day. The next one up is 190. You already have a light at one that has 60 vehicles a day. So I'm going to probably recommend that you just do them all. I mean, I don't know how you eliminate 70 or 190 when you already have a light at 60. So
I think it's a
There's no
smart
rhyme
move.
or reason for that. When it was put into place. Unless there was a petition or something that had it.
yeah, it could be, but I mean, for the safety standpoint of it,
So
unless there's some other exterior lighting, like if somebody's got a business or a building nearby that lights it, you might as well do them at every intersection. So
I guess you talked about the Bernard Road and Valley Cascade, there's one on the one intersection, Valley Cascade, but there's not on the other Valley Cascade intersection. So I noticed when I come back the other night, I mean, when that is set back, if that's set back 10 feet, well, like you said, with a wooden post, is your overhang distance different?
the mast arm will be a little bit different, but you have to realize these aren't intersection lights. These are
Right.
not
Right.
lighting
I mean,
intersections.
you obviously can tell that.
Yeah, so all you're trying to do is like, if I'm driving
Identify,
along,
yeah.
just say, I see that light, that's where my turn is. It won't light up the intersection.
I get it, yeah, and it makes a difference, yeah.
It does.
And then we got a quote, we got one quote, I'm waiting for a second quote for the rumble stop panels. So once I get that, I'll come back to the board and say, hey, here's the cost. Typically the standards changed to 2 now. It used to be a 3 rumble stop installation, but now the standard's 2. So we'll have the cost, and I guess I mean, really, we don't, unless you want to take action on it, we could just do it. I mean,
So do we have a policy in place, Todd, that states, miles per hour areas or something like that? If it's 35 or less, do we install them anyway, or don't we, or not? Not normally, we would not, correct?
right, so I'm not aware of a Jackson County policy, but there's recommendations from the Office of Traffic and Safety, like for the standards, that if it's 35 miles an hour or less, you wouldn't put them up. But that doesn't say you can't put them up. It just says it's not recommended. But location like that, so. It sounds like people know the intersection's there. We're gonna put up a light. There's already a LED lighted stop sign. But I think. From what I understand about the accident history, you want driver feedback. Like you need the physical driver feedback to let them know that intersection's there. So if they're distracted or whatever's going on, that snaps them to attention that, hey, they're gonna need to stop.
I think it's good idea.
I talked to the landowner there just to get an idea that how many incidents maybe that maybe were not even reported, you know. Up with a gate up there.
Since you're fairly familiar with that location, somebody told me that there used to be a building across a barn or something that got torn down.
I think it had to be further north than it, because that's an immediate drop off.
Pretty good drop off.
Okay,
I don't think it'd be possible. I think it'd be a little further north of that. Well, there was,
somebody said there was a shed or something there and they just thought it had been torn down
not in
and,
front of that T, no.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
that's all I have, and then I'll be back at 10 for the discussion about the Hertzville and 61. Let's see.
okay,
I don't know if you guys have been up that way, but you've been, the road, the patching is being done on the
Mhm.
west of Lockford.
Yeah.
Nice, the half that was done was big improvement.
I looked at some of the mudjacking too on some of the slabs and post slab. They've done a good job there. too.
great. Okay,
Yep.
Thanks.
okay, visitors and citizens. Steve, did you want to address the board? You want Todd to stay?
Pardon?
You want Todd to stay?
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
I just had a lady, she called me with some concerns up on Andrew, and I talked to Mike and I talked to you, Jack. I haven't talked to you, Larry, about it yet. On 261st Street, she wants a sign that ATVs and UTVs can't use that, and you guys are familiar with that. And I've talked to the assistant county attorney about this, and I've also talked to the mayor and some city councilmen. And she just wants a sign put up. And I'm gonna go talk to Sarah after this too and just see. And I think Sarah, Jack, what you said, Sarah said we can't do that because unless we make it a level C road. But you know what I'm trying to do is keep, they're calling a sheriff's department because these people go out there and tear up the road and there's been other allegations too, but you guys know that. I'm just trying to make it easy on Sheriff Kilberg. If we, a simple sign to put up there, and if I have to put a bill in, I will. And try to give you guys the authority to make that, and I can do that, but I'm trying to keep it simple. What do you guys think about that?
I did go talk to Sarah and she did put together a packet which she sent to Diane outlining everything that was possible. And in the midst of that letter that she sent, she told her the only option that she had was to talk to the 3 neighbors that live on that road and get 100% agreement from them to turn it to a Class C, which she also indicated was basically no maintenance.
Yeah, that's not an option for me.
And so I don't think that's making her happy, but I mean, basically, because of the legislation that was passed last year, it ties our hands. But
Correct. I mean, we can't put up a sign just there because she wants it. No, that's not gonna happen.
What,
We're gonna be compliant through the whole county and through the whole state and do whatever it is.
Yeah. So actually, what I'd like to do is put a bill in that gives you guys, the supervisors, that authority to do whatever you want with ATV, UTV. And you can restrict or allow access if you would like. What do you guys think of that?
well, I think that's how it should have been.
Well, we tried to do that from the get-go. I
Yes.
mean, we still wanted local authority and we didn't get that. But, I mean, because it's statewide and it's uniform throughout the whole state, but the sign's no better than what the sign says.
Right.
I mean, if you can't enforce it, if she calls the law enforcement now, when they're out there and they're not there in time or whatever, I've been told by the law enforcement that they've been patrolling it and they haven't seen anything, and so it is what it's worth. I mean, I don't know if she has video footage or.
She does.
She has
Well,
cameras.
I haven't
She
seen it.
does, yeah.
well, the only difference now, it used to be 16, now it's 18 to be doing driving.
Right.
And I don't know what the ages of the people driving are.
Well, the thing is this,
Well, if they get caught recklessly driving anyway, Larry,
Yeah.
but they gotta get caught.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And so I haven't seen footage and I haven't seen, I know 3 other people live on that road and I can't believe that one of them didn't call me and say this is an issue.
and I'm gonna stop out and talk to Mr. Marcus, when I'm on my way home tonight, but
Well, I
To get
know
to-
he was at the meeting in Andrew and he basically agreed with what Diane was saying,
okay,
that it was almost to the point of harassment with these people coming back and
Mm.
forth and
Yeah.
the ages of them and
yes.
What about the city of Andrew? I mean, to me,
The city of Andrews says.
City Andrew said, put up the sign.
Yes. Yeah, and to get to this dead end road, you have to drive on streets that are not authorized to the city of Andrew.
there it is.
I
The
agree.
City needs to put up a sign in the city,
So,
so that blocks the entrance to the road, other than if you live on the
Yeah,
road.
but then you gotta put up on every street in Andrew that, I mean, there, any of them streets on north to south can get to that one.
and Larry,
They
you're
can't get to that road.
right.
They, at that meeting that I was at, they authorized all of the cities in Andrew to get to the designated route. That road does not, a designated route does not lead to 261st.
Correct. Yeah.
So if they take that road down to 261st, they're basically breaking the law.
Well, they're breaking the law several times so far, so.
Yeah, they have.
We still haven't caught them.
Yeah, and by the time sheriff's department gets the call, they're gone. And that's the problem. And what they're saying in the city council and the city mayor says, go ahead and put a sign up, but put it right on county property.
Yes, they
not city
told me
property.
that night.
Yes,
It couldn't be on the city street. It had to be on the county road.
yes.
Why
Yeah.
is that?
So I'm trying to,
Why is
yeah,
that?
Because the city wasn't, it wasn't, the problem wasn't on the city street, it was on the county 261st street.
Well,
right,
I don't have a problem putting a sign up. We can legally do it.
yeah.
A sign is what it's worth.
I will talk to
Well,
Sarah.
when I talked to the engineers next door, they said that they had to follow the state rules.
Mhm.
And that said that it's open to anybody to travel on that road. So they said, no, we have the sign, we have the post,
Yes.
but we haven't been able to get it.
Well, why can't the city put the sign up on city property?
You know, and they said they didn't want to do it, not like Jack said, they got to put it up on every city street then.
Well,
I'm trying to find a simple answer to this and trying not to go through legislation.
Well, I have not heard from Diane.
we can't legally do it, Steve, so,
Okay,
I mean, I can't say yeah to you because we can't legally do it.
I haven't heard from Diane since Sarah sent her the information. I've been surprised that I haven't, but
yeah,
I guess we'll just wait and see how it proceeds. And I would certainly support you putting a bill in that would give us some authority.
Local authority.
well, and I think you guys need to have
Yeah, we do.
that authority, so. Anyway, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep
Sure.
the sheriff's department, they have better things to do.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
okay, okay.
Okay,
Do you guys have any questions of me for the state legislature besides this?
we'll let you know.
Okay, I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is Steve Mookie, return order of the Eagles. You can come on up, Steve.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I'm here as a volunteer grant writer, working with the Eagles 3866. And as in the past, here to request again your support and if you would be so kind to function as fiscal sponsors for 2 grants that I'm working with for them, one through the Tysons. Well, both are facilitated by the Dubuque, Greater Dubuque Foundation. One is the Tysons More for Your Community grant, which we're requesting support, financial support to purchase a cooler for their brat stand. And the second one is for the Jackson County Foundation grant, which comes due in 2 days, or it comes open in 2 days and then due through the month of September. And a request for
Sure.
groups that aren't. So I'm just here to ask if you would be so willing to sign two of the fiscal sponsorship agreements.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
if you don't get the grants, are we fiscally responsible?
No, it's
We're just approving.
it's just
application
approval
of the grant.
to accept the check and then issue them on to the.
And it's not a problem for your office, Lisa? Okay, any further
We appreciate
discussion?
the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
They use all the equipment, things to raise funds that eventually comes back to the community. It's part of their philosophy.
You just need the chair signature on those.
I just need a signature, I guess maybe in the past, Jack, you've signed them as chairperson, our last one.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Want to bring them? I'll sign them for you.
Thank you.
And while we're doing that, Arlene, if you want to come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning. Roland is going to join me as well.
Very be sir.
Yeah, thank you very much,
You're
gentlemen.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
What I'm here for this morning is to talk about digitizing of records. And like I said, Lori Rolling's going to join. She got an estimate as well from my last company, so she's going to pop in here too. Just a real quick history of the office is, of course, recorder offices were established in 1839 to maintain official records of documents affecting title to real estate. So recorders are responsible for land and record management. In the Jackson County Recorder's Office, our computer indexing of all our daily documents didn't start until 1987. And of course, we used our solution software, which we're using today. Scanning of the images didn't start until 1997. And then in 2006, when I took office, I started an internal indexing and scanning project of all our of documents pre-1997. My deputies and myself have continued to do that over 16 years. It's very tedious. We don't get a lot of time to work on it because our daily duties, of course, consume most of the day. I went ahead and started without.
Oh, that's fine. I was on the phone.
So a huge kudos to Jennifer and Amy for keeping up with this project over the years. The documents that are filed in a recorder's office have a lifetime retention period, meaning we have to keep them forever. A digitizing project would protect those records for years to come. It would protect them from all kinds of disasters, water damage, tornadoes, whatever. It also gives our customer easy remote access to all our documents instead of having to go look through the index books and then go pull the image. It would all be digitized on our computers. It also would eliminate expenses for rebinding the books, which I've come to you guys before for that. That is expensive. And eventually it would take up less office space because we could just store those books maybe in the vault or something downstairs. So.
That's
since-
also our office space.
There you go. You just put that one wall that was taken out. in again. So
I vote A.
I thought we approved this, Rick, 2
It's-
years ago or something, didn't we?
no,
We talked
It's
about it.
been
We
on
talked
the
about it
ARPA
numerous
fund
times.
estimate, but I'm just here to present it to you today now that we have quotes and so forth. So, as far as what we've managed to do so far is we have indexed and scanned, excuse me, all plats and surveys, all DD 214s, which are the military discharges. We've done 46 miscellaneous books, corner certs, tax lien books, and we've also done all deed and mortgage book records from 1970 forward. When abstractors do a new abstract, they absolutely have to go back 40 years. So that was our goal, was starting with 1997 for deeds and mortgages. Sometimes they have to go back farther, but so by doing this project, those records are available on our public access terminals for abstractors, bankers, realtors, whoever might come in to do a search. They're also available to most county offices, so they can sit in there at their desk and pull up our documents to look at, instead of having to come in, pull the book, ask us for help, which is not a problem whatsoever, but. So
Simplifies
unfortunately,
things.
so there's still a lot to do though, unfortunately. So over the past few months, some of us have gotten quotes from different companies. I've got quotes from 3 companies. And I have a 4th one that approached me at ISAC that would really like, he's been here once before, but he would like to come again and do an actual quote. So things to look at when we're picking out these. Do you have a question?
I do. When you talked about the items that you already have scanned, is the scanning complete?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so,
But you have to, well, can you just let me finish?
sure.
Some companies, when they come in to do the work, they load these images on their own website, which means we have to pay a yearly maintenance to hold our documents on their county website. Other companies have a brief indexing that they will type in with each image, and then our software solutions will pull those images into our current indexing program. And again, it's only a brief indexing, just enough to pull the image in. And then my deputies and myself will eventually, as time allows, index all those documents for a full indexing program. So doing it that way, there's no continued maintenance fee. Once it's done, those documents are ours, period, the end. So. And I've already talked to Solutions and I have a quote from them as far as their fee for doing that project. So another thing to consider is some companies, when they work on our books, they will ship the books elsewhere to do the work. That I don't really care for. I would prefer to keep our books in-house.
India.
Yeah, India, in-house. And they're, of the 4 quotes I've gotten so far, and not the 4th one because I don't have the quote there, but one company will actually bring in 4 employees. They will work 12-hour shifts here in the courthouse and do their work right here, and they don't leave till it's done. So another thing to consider is image quality on what the companies scan in and what the finished image looks like. We have numerous sheets like this. We have black sheets with white lettering, and it's very hard for us to reproduce those in our system to be legible. Whereas these companies, most of them have the technology to flip the image so that it is legible. If we have an image that's very light, they have technology to darken even just certain areas of the document, which is really nice. Question?
No.
Okay. And I don't know about Lori, but I have talked to other recorders as far as ones that have used these different companies. So I know the finished product and what to expect from different companies. So, and once I receive the final estimates, then I'll be back to visit with you. And I would hope that you would seriously consider this project for that ARPA funding. It's an opportunity of a lifetime for us. So,
Well, it needs to be done too.
Yeah.
Time saver.
so anyway, that's my presentation.
Yeah, and I've been through some of the drawers. Well, I've been through the drawers, even though not through them individual file folder by file folder. But down there, there's a lot of stuff, and both basically the quotes for in-house and out-of-house were in that $25,000 range for the zoning materials. I'm not sure if all of it needs to be scanned. I've read some stuff where even like daily logs, like the notebook that I keep, probably when people call and scribble that in, I heard that that's public record for X number of years, which I don't even know how that comes into play, but we do have, it looks like Christina had everything digitized. Well, the bulk of it after she came in, the zoning permits. But I'm not sure about the other stuff, but there's a lot of documents, maps, a lot of history down in those drawers, which I need to dig through and find something. But yeah, so $25,000 is what it would cost to digitize roughly what's down there, whether it was in-house or out-of-house.
For your office. or
Just for
your zoning.
mine, just for zoning.
And that's a lot less than what you have.
And you're not disclosing any
Oh,
bids that you have, is that what?
I
you
only
said?
have one. That's just one bid.
Well, I certainly can.
Well,
I just
Well,
I
didn't.
would say that you
Still got a
should
bid
not
coming.
I-
until you
yes.
have all of the bids
Yes.
that you were
Yeah. That's what I
anticipating
was
to get.
thinking.
And you'll send them down to me too. There was one that I.
My codes are just for my office.
Okay, yeah, but when you get them, I mean, when they're coming in for you, can they come see me?
Mhm.
It'd be good to have some
Yeah.
extra votes.
Yeah, because
I know we talked about this before, we talked about it, the whole courthouse, I mean, you getting together with all the offices and that hasn't happened apparently, correct?
Well, it has. I think, for example, our office, we are land record management, so it was much easier for me to take an inventory of our books than it is for some of these other offices, because ours are all recorded documents. Whereas theirs might just be a folder here and there. I'm just assuming, I don't know, you'd have to speak, but my inventory is extensive. If you've seen our office, you've seen the books, I mean, but I did one particular company that I'm waiting, well, I got the fourth quote late yesterday, I just haven't had a chance to go through it with fine tooth comb. But I eliminated some of our books from the initial quote, so hopefully it'll be a little less, so. But yes, it's,
Well, I would
It's
say
not
when you
cheap.
get, your quotes come back, and we will certainly give it serious consideration.
sounds good. Anything else? Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Oh,
Thanks for the warning.
So, thanks for the word.
okay, next on the agenda is Lisa Smith, Jackson County Auditor.
So I think I'm gonna just yield for a little bit since Josh is here.
Yeah.
So he can update us on the Destination Iowa grant. That's why I called Sarah down. So we can
Yeah, because we.
kind of get caught up on what needs to be
They
done.
don't know their voice.
Okay, we're going to be joined by Josh Bolt, our city manager from Macokota. We talked about you in Des Moines last week.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Callahan was one of the presenters.
Who?
Pat Callahan.
Oh, Pat, yeah.
And he asked everybody about their city managers, and I said, well, we have a bright spot.
Thank you.
He says, well, thank you, because I helped with that application or with that interview, so,
A lot of pressure on the side.
yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
um,
You're used to it.
Lisa and I talked yesterday a little bit, you're not required to put a resolution forward, I would, if you typically used to a discussion, the motion. Fine, as long as it's recorded in minutes, but Conservation Board, motion to go ahead and sign the contract that's in question here. I come from a system where we put a resolution to almost anything, and it sounded like Todd, that's kind of what he was saying too. I mean, there's no right way to do it, but I wanted to get the document to you so that you had a chance to review. You have that in the form of a contract. I took it a step further and made kind of a blanket resolution. That's something the city council will consider and likely approve on Tuesday's meeting on September 6th. And we'll go ahead and send the contract execution over to Destination Iowa. So if there are,
It's resolution number 920. Did I not give you a copy?
No, I don't see them. I got 919.
Yeah, no, this is 920. I can go make a, I thought I did. Let me go make a copy. I thought
since I got a couple free minutes, I thought I mentioned last time that there was 41,000 in unidentified funds in the project. I did forward an email yesterday to Lisa that identifies where that gap was. We applied based on the math, we applied for 791,000 in assistance through Destination Iowa. They gave us 750. That's where the 41 came from. So, we'll go right up to that 750 as far as we can, and if needed, we can amend the agreement later. But they wanted to be made aware about where that 41 comes from, and I showed them the application and showed exactly how it happened, and they acknowledge that that's where it came from. So I don't think there's anything to fear at all out of that 41, and Lisa's got an email / written record of exactly of the state's response on that particular issue. So didn't mean to scare you last time. I mentioned something like $41,000.
Okay.
We've had a lot
I'm gonna-
scarier figures.
Well, I'm
thrown
gonna
at
go
us.
back here and from what I recall of this, when we first applied for this, what was our responsibility for this?
Cost overrun, 5% contingency.
It says something about 50,000 in here for Jackson County Conservation Board, responsible for 50,000. I don't remember that, our responsibility, what we were supposed to be responsible for it.
So if there was a cost overrun in the project, we put a 5% marker on that. 5% of the project total was shy of 50,000 by a short amount. If there's a cost overrun, that's when the Conservation Board and the county would be responsible. And for the purposes of the application, we considered that to be 5%. And it will be up to Conservation Board, the city, and the project manager to stay within those markers of the project budget. So
Okay, so then who's responsible for the 41,000? That's not accounted for.
that's
Is
held,
that part of the overrun,
that's part of, well, so
or is it 50 plus the 41?
So they awarded 750, but they still consider the project total the same. So if you take 750 divided by 0.4 being the 40%, you get to 1.875 million. And practically speaking, you want to spend 1.875 million.
So we stay in them parameters.
Yes.
So then our responsibility comes back to almost zero, right?
Trying to.
Try to. But our total could be up to 5% or 50, basically on.
Correct.
5% is like 98,000,
Um,
49,000 twice.
I think together though. is
Yeah,
what the
so
marker
so
was.
Jackson
Conservation and
County,
Jackson County.
so Jackson County together is 98,000.
And that's us and with the Conservation Board.
Yes.
So, and I think that last I talked to Nathan about a week ago, it sounded like the Conservation Board wanted him to take the lead on, getting the rock in and all those things and being in charge of a lot of the project improvements. I would, we have until September 26th, 2026 to make these improvements. One thing we need, one thing we need to be, talking about along the way is financial responsibility in the project. And we're going through an experience right now where, we don't have a choice in plat street improvements, right? You can't mess with sewer pipes and water pipes, all those things.
Can't just cover them up.
The requirements of this grant application, they had to be substantially similar to what was written in the application. So if there are opportunities or reasons for us to have to not do something, I'm sure the state will want to be aware of that. But they're here to work with us throughout this project and see to it that their money was used in the way that they meant. I've had some conversations with folks about that very thing because there are some unknowns here.
I guess a question sometimes always comes up, is there in-kind donations and stuff that could be considered too?
Yes,
Whether it.
yeah, that they wanted to see that the 60% was secured. And that's where the city's wastewater, water quality improvement was coming in. So that was secured in their view. I don't know if you guys were on the Zoom at all, but they talked about donations and those things being secured. And for the purposes of the application, they didn't need money in a checking account, but they could take like a letter of support in a way that I am pledging this amount and could go into the application package.
Okay,
Do you have any other questions, Lisa? Or Shelley, do you have any questions?
So yes, a resolution was prepared, resolution number 920-08-30-2022. It has not been put on official resolution paper yet. And one of the things that I have worked with Sarah about, and I did talk to Josh about, is that in this resolution, in the last paragraph, it talks about and the chair of Jackson County Conservation Board and the Board of Supervisors to sign the Destination Iowa Agreement. Well, there's no place in the Destination Iowa Agreement for you as Board of Supervisors to sign. So the question is do you want this, A, do you want a resolution? And B, do you want this to be worded the way that it's worded because you are not signing the Destination Iowa Agreement?
Well,
so the conservation board is signing it, is that?
yes,
what
but
I'm-
they're a child under us, basically.
So
And
that
I,
was- yeah.
in our conversation yesterday with Lisa, I said, I definitely think that the Board of Supervisors should be a signer of the agreement as well as the Conservation Board. Because where do they get their money? They get it from us and the taxpayers.
So where did the agreement come from? From the state?
From the state directly, but that you weren't listed because it's Conservation Board and city as co-applicants in it. You have a budgetary relationship to the Conservation Board in the same
Yeah, we
way
do.
that we have an MMAU one, so that's why I think we ended up at this point. We have a previous resolution for a 28E agreement that kind of outlined the agreement at a 30,000 foot level, but this is signing the contract, so to speak.
So that's the question. The first question is do we want this? Do you want to sign the resolution as is, or do you want to do it by motion?
And I would say to add into this while you're maybe taking a second to think that as long as the minutes accurately identify that you support and authorize the Conservation Board signing, that I think the city will be satisfied, but I'll leave that to you entirely.
Lisa? Or Sarah, I mean.
Well, and I guess Lisa and I had talked about whether the county board needed to sign it as well. And I don't know that you do. I realize that you fund the conservation board, but they are a distinct board that is
Sure
allowed
they
to
are.
contract separately. And that's what this is. I think the issue really is that you're agreeing that should the contingency fee need to be paid, should it overrun, that you're going to cover that cost. That's your interest here.
And that's an important part of this.
Absolutely.
Very important part.
And just the other thing, I did question Sarah this morning and I did ask Shelley. In reading the 22-page agreement last night, I did notice that it did talk about a conflict of interest policy. Josh, I'm sure that you have a conflict of interest policy.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we actually signed a new purchasing policy this
Okay.
March, so
Yeah.
we're
And visiting this morning with Shelley, she believes that we have one also. I just
Yes.
want to make sure that we were
Yeah.
following the same rules.
Absolutely.
So where is the conflict of interest? What do we?
It's just a policy. It's stated in the agreement that we have one. As I said, it was, I think it was on page 7.
Okay, so what, we have one, so
Yes, we
does
do.
it come into play somewhere that I'm not recognizing what
No,
there's a
We
conflict?
just have to have it.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page.
Well, I myself, I'm okay with the conservation board taking the lead on this as far as that goes. I know they're under our wing. I guess this is something that we probably already committed somewhat to. With
I know we
this-
have.
in conjunction with the city and the grant and whatnot. I don't know, it's a.
Is there enough information there that shows that we're liable for that
Are you okay?
2.5% part of it?
Just in terms of the application, that's listed. And our previous resolution for 28E agreement.
Where does 2.5%, I'm sorry, come in?
He's talking about the 5%. the
Okay, so
contingency
half of it,
marker.
but it's basically 5% because
It's 49 and some change.
it's us and the conservation board, which is still us. Am I right there? Well,
Yeah,
take
it's
them-
98,000. The 5% is 98,000.
I just pull up the application table. Your obligation, if we get to that point, is 49. You know, for almost 1.9, $2 million of improvements. It's, you know,
Any other words of wisdom for us, Sarah?
I get where Lisa's coming from, because it's making it sound like the board's gonna sign, so that might be the only issue with the resolution, maybe just take that language out. Or just do a motion that says that you're approving the agreement with conservation and the city and the Economic Development Authority, with the understanding that your position, your part in this is to potentially have to pay the contingency. I don't know, Josh, if you feel that there's more that needs to be said
I don't think
by the
so.
board.
No, if the state's okay with what we have so
Yeah.
far, then I'd be good with that.
Well, if you want to sign this resolution, Shelley would put it on resolution paper.
Now we have
So-
all of our signatures on it, so that would.
This one I'm understanding here, you're okay with the last paragraph, the way it reads as a conservation board. Jack, you're a little reluctant to do that, correct?
A little, yeah.
I mean, I guess they are an entity under us, but in the same sense, like you're putting forward here, I mean, we're talking about $2 million and between the two, I guess, between Jackson County and conservation. I mean, we've got a lot of, to me, it's a lot of asset for what we're inputting.
I don't dispute that at all, but it takes it could eliminate any input from this board. And leave it solely up with the
Is that
conservation
correct?
board.
I mean, are they still under our jurisdiction?
They're a separate board.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a totally separate board from us. They make their own decisions.
All three of us are on here, the city of Macocota, Jackson County Conservation Board, and Board of Supervisors.
But the board of supervisors.
But we
is
don't
not.
sign
So Josh, what's the
just this, the
what's the potential
resolution.
of when this
Oh.
potential 98,000? When, I mean, is
What
that,
is the potential of it?
when is that? I mean, are you thinking a year from now?
No, longer than that even. Yeah, we have until September 2026 to get this going and
So how soon will you go to bid? And I mean, how close are you to that?
next spring.
Okay, and then potentially start right away, you think? or-
Yeah, we have to start within one calendar year, the award notice, which was July 19th, I think was the actual notification that we got it. First part of that will
So
certainly be,
potentially, we should put this money in the FY24 budget.
Mhm, yeah,
See, we don't, I mean, we don't have that budget. I mean,
Okay.
So that, we would need to make sure that we would do that then.
Better make a note.
That's why I'm Shelley.
Put it on your calendar.
Papa.
So I guess what I'm hearing is we're pretty much all in agreement, except for the fact that maybe our signature is not on it. So do we want to put that in there to make everybody happy or?
I don't know that we can.
Okay,
You're saying about the signature on the destination Iowa grant agreement, sorry, yeah, agreement.
Lisa, am I correct in that Conservation Board has done other grants, like for the Hurstville Interpretive Center and for the Hurstville Trail, that they did on their own without the Board of Supervisors?
I would think there'd be like a parts to people.
Yeah.
Sure, that
I
grant
mean,
was,
to me, this is somewhat similar to that. Am I wrong or not?
Well, not really, because we're adding that extra 50,000 on to what conservation is putting in.
I mean, if your concern is this is saying you're gonna sign something you're not, we can take that language out and then have it just be like. Take the chair of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors out of that sentence, but they're gonna sign it and then add it to that they're going to, you pledge your respective local match. Which is, I think the important part here is that you are continuing to approve that should it be necessary, you're gonna fund that contingency. And I think that's an easy
Okay. let's do it.
change that we can make if that would make you feel more
That
comfortable.
would-
about
I don't
it.
have a problem with either way. Obviously. I mean,
And
it
that would-
says,
That would get our name on the thing, so.
it said authorize the mayor of city of Macocata, the chair of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors and the chair of the Jackson County Conservation to sign the destination Iowa agreement. That's what it says.
Mhm.
So I don't, to me, I'm good with it either way, whatever you want in there.
So do you have a motion to that effect?
Are
Are we ready for
Before you
that?
make a motion, do you want Shelley and Sarah quickly to go get the wording in this before we pass this? Because you're gonna pass it by resolution or by motion?
Yeah.
Resolution?
Well, we'll do it by resolution if that's
Okay.
what you require, and you don't, it doesn't matter to
Can you
you,
do that
correct?
quickly?
It does not, no.
She tells me what to.
Are you wanting the language modified or do you want to just sign it as is?
I think I'd modify it just to make it clear.
Okay.
I mean, there's 3 parties involved in it.
Shelley, do you have the resolution document? Okay.
Do you want to be a part of that conversation, or you good with whether?
I think I'm good. Yeah, this is- I'm here for your benefit, so.
I was gonna
Not
say.
that I'm not concerned about you, but I at least want to say to our city council that all the parties here have recognized that we've signed a contract at this point, and it's up to us to manage the project at this point and be cost effective. So that's.
Right, and that's my whole point, yeah, I'm good with it, yeah. I respect that, the fact that we're all working together.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great, but
I guess, yeah, you want to be covered too.
I don't think
Okay,
it'll
it
take them
is-
that long, yeah.
it is 10 o'clock. And so I'll open the public hearing on the sale of the Welcome Center property in Sebula.
Thank you.
I have had no comments from anybody other than that we should sell it.
I have not received any calls.
I haven't either.
Have you received anything?
I
Lisa?
haven't received anything, no.
And we did
Yes, it did
basically
get
get the.
Oh, yeah, it was in the paper.
Yeah.
We did basically get the blessing of the Tourism Association that it probably wasn't. It wasn't 2022.
Yeah.
It was 30 years ago when they decided to do it, 33 years ago when they decided to do it, and it's not the wave of the present time.
And they're changing.
Yep.
If there's no further comments, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Discussion possibility on sale of the Welcome Center property. Do we have a motion to sell it?
Do we have, yes, do we have to have our how we're gonna do that in place or just a motion that we're gonna?
Just that we're going to put it up for sale, but we're not saying exactly the
Details
details.
how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to place the Welcome Center up for sale. All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay, Sarah, do you have any, so they've had a public hearing, they closed it, they now made a motion.
Okay.
What needs to be done next if they didn't?
Well, so the motion is to go ahead and sell it.
Yes.
How do you want to do it? Do you want to ask for bids? Do you want to hire a realtor? Do you want to do an auction?
I think that's something that we haven't really
Right.
thought
That's-
through
that's-
yet.
That's the next step.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And
Do
the
we
next,
have,
So is that a special work session in itself?
I would say yes.
I would think so too. That's gonna take a little discussion.
do we want to get appraisals on it, or
I think we should have an appraisal on it.
what do you think, Mike? No?
I would not pay for one. It's an opinion. And he's got a couple of comps for it. I don't see a lot of comps in that type of property. I
Do
think.
you have any comps on cemeteries? Because I did have a call
We're
yesterday.
gonna sell
on
one?
that. Well, I guess somebody wants to sell one because I haven't.
You know,
I
I
had
mean,
an
it's gonna be
appraiser
hard for an
yesterday.
appraiser to come up with comps. It's not a residential, it's a, what is it zone? You know,
I don't know, I'd have to look.
yeah, I looked at it once, but
Probably.
Is it?
I guess you could have. I think this is discussion that we need to have in a work session, probably.
I mean, is it a legal property that we can sell? Is there enough separation between the well and the septic system? I mean,
I would hope when they did it, they did it appropriately.
it's less than 2 acres.
Yeah. Maybe we should touch base also with Elizabeth in this process.
And zoning.
When's the last time, the water has to be tested, certainly has to be tested also, and hasn't been used for X amount of time, so I don't know how she'd start that process too.
Well, when we have our work session, we'll have her come in. And discuss it with us also,
Yep,
what our procedural responsibility is. Okay. Anything else before we have Sally come up? Okay, this time we're being joined by Sally Davies, the NEI 3A board member, and for an update.
Hi,
good morning.
good morning, how are you?
Good.
Fine.
The biggest thing right now, with NEI 3A, there's a cap on funds for, Meals on Wheels and the like. Right now statewide, they've kind of hit that top portion of their funding source. So they're using a scale. They're still taking people on, but it's based on need. Obviously, it's always been on need, but now they have an emergency scale underneath of that. So they're looking at every situation. If someone was at a congregate site and now they're home base, they'll push them up higher into, yes, you're gonna get meals delivered to you at home. So just looking at that funding source and trying to use dollars wisely and make sure that they can continue to keep that operation going. The other thing was by 2023, the area on aging will be under the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. So they're working on a merger. I did bring the letter that is going out if you want a copy of it to see. That went out to the public. So all of the agencies will be under that umbrella. And the goal is to bring more knowledge, more support, and more funding resources, maybe with more grant writing or the like. Here locally, I deliver meals 2 to 3 times a month, and there's always consistently 13 people that receive home delivered meals. I know there's more than that, but I consistently deliver to 13. And the center itself they struggle to get people to come in, but that is a sign of the times. That's all the way across the board. It depends on the community, but a lot of folks have learned different ways to do things, and the senior centers, trying to reinvent that, or how to make it the place that people want to be, is really kind of been a focal point for a year now, and how are we going to do that? So the local people here have been doing different things, looking at bringing in a Tai Chi class, some classes or activity where you can make a meal and freezer meals so that the seniors have 2 or 3 meals when they leave. Those are all in planning stages. They're looking at the matter of balance classes again. Those things that pre-COVID were all in place and were thriving, and then have kind of dissipated, and trying to bring some things back and find out what it is that will bring folks back. The Euchre Marathon that they do down there, that seems to bring a lot of people on a regular basis. And on Monday morning, the card ladies are still there. So trying to just get more people to find that space and to utilize it.
I guess since Bellevue went up, back up and running again, I haven't heard any reports over there as far as what they're doing, or if they're kind of back to.
There's been delivering meals, yes. The congregate site, they have to have someone there to help serve the meals, and Shannon is over both places now. So she's in Bellevue on Wednesday, and she's in Macokota Monday and Friday. They do have some volunteers that are helping make that happen in Bellevue. So I can't tell you how many people are there on a regular basis. We haven't got those numbers yet. And I haven't been there myself.
Okay.
So it is on my radar, but
I mean, the meals are certainly based on income restrictions. Or
there is income and need.
Mhm.
More need than anything,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with the home delivery.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you serving on their board,
Thank you.
and all of your services, because it is very, very needed. So,
It is, and I think I learn more and more every time I attend one of the board meetings, because, okay, wow, you do that too? Okay, what's that mean? You know, just keep learning as you go.
absolutely.
All right, anything else? All right.
At this time, we'll recess the meeting. Sally,
Thanks, Sally.
before you leave. Next is Lisa Smith, Jackson County Auditor.
So today I will, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 23rd, 2022 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith, and authorize publication in the official newspapers.
So moved.
A motion and a second to approve publication of the minutes of the previous meeting. All those in favor?
All right.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $264,530.50.
So moved. Second. The note that 13,000 was engineered, which was road improvements and rock and paving projects.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I do have, Shelley and Sarah did make the corrections on the resolution authorizing an agreement with the State of Iowa Economic Development Authority for the Destination Iowa project at Prairie Creek Recreation Center. So I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 920-08-30-2022 and authorize all 3 board members' signatures.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
You already have authorized the fiscal sponsorship, so that was B on my agenda. So we can sit down on that. I need a motion today to approve and authorize the publication of the fiscal year 2022 Jackson County Annual Financial Report in the county's official newspapers.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
This one.
Yes.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Motion needed to approve resolution number 919-08-30-2022, certifying delinquent Leisure Lake sewer assessments to the county treasurer for property tax collection in the amount of $2,225.12.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 919-08-30-2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Did you go to the Iris meeting last week? While we were in Des Moines, you were gonna maybe
I did.
learn anything interesting?
Yeah. Maybe Mark would report. I didn't bring my notes with me.
Yeah. Coming out of the.
Do you want to come up and speak? And
Sure.
Sorry about that. He caught me off guard. I did go. I went
Yeah.
personally went up.
Yeah. At the meeting, we primarily discussed where we're at with the Dressler subdivision. And Larry is signing, I think we got 22 easements. We do have a public meeting set up for Thursday afternoon. We sent letters out to everybody that's on our list. The only people we didn't send letters out is we don't have the names of the people that live in the trailer. They're part of the Pettish Trailer Park. So, but I mean, we're gonna be at the pavilion right there, so maybe let's see what's going on. We talked, we gave them times at 3:30 and at 5 that we'll be there, and just talked to Matt this morning. What we're planning to do is we're trying to get a drawing from Origin that we can have for everybody just to get an idea what's going on. Plus, we're gonna work on maybe some frequently asked questions, put a list of those together, and primarily the question that we get the most on is why do they have to sign the easements? Because I don't know how familiar you are with the subdivision is none of the properties come right out to the road and the county. It's not county roads and it's not city roads. So it's a private / public road. And the people of private, I guess, it looks as though when we're looking back at the documents, by buying the property there, they bought into the road, basically. So our attorney said that that's why we need the easements, because these people do have rights to the road, even though they're not on it. So that's why we're going through the easement. So we're trying to explain that to everybody. So that's where we're heading.
I'm sorry.
Go.
Did we get any clarification from USDA? Is it one in, all in, or is it, can we eliminate these?
We just got that today.
Oh,
And what they said is you mean as far as does everybody have to have, everybody has to have a meter?
right.
Yes, they do.
Okay, everybody has to have a meter, but what if your well is in compliance?
They allowed us, they're letting us do that.
Okay.
But it'd be based on you as a board have to amend your resolution.
Right.
Because right now you have a resolution that all wells must be
Okay.
plugged.
Do you have a copy of
And
that?
I think
When we get
that, if I remember right, when that was first brought to, we made a resolution, that was when the city of Bellevue was going to do this project and their grant, when they made their grant application, I think it was either under the city, they said either all in or out, we ain't doing it. So, and I can completely see the point where we come to the fact there's 5 wells up there.
We said 5.
There
And
might
I
be
think
2 more.
Ms. Townsend said she has 4.
Okay,
There's 4 that so we went back and looked and it's probably, the engineer thought there was 5 but she says she only regulates 4 of them. So we're all gonna go with the 4 that she said, kind of what to
so
do.
at that time, they were gonna put a meter to each house. And then they didn't want any back contamination, so they're gonna put a check valve. But that's not gonna come into play now, if I understand it right. They're not even gonna get a line to their house. If they don't wanna hook up now,
If they want to hook up later, they're gonna pay for the whole deal.
Oh, sure.
We'll put what we call a shut off at the property line. And,
Oh, okay.
and we'll still do that. But then we've also, those people, we've already put a letter together that we're having our attorney review. And we'll tell them that if they want to, if their well goes bad and they want to connect, kind of an estimate of what current costs are. And we're gonna use like, now we have, whenever we do it, we have an inspection fee, we have a permit fee and a connection fee. The three, the fees that they'll have, that, plus they'll have to put in their, pay for their own meter, plus they'll have to pay for their own, what connection. And I think we said, well, it was like $5,000 is what our estimate is right now, at today's prices. Is that what that would be? So, but like I think you were saying that, well, if your well goes bad, it's gonna cost you more than $5,000 to replace it, so it's gonna be a worthwhile price to those people anyway, so.
So we also talked, there also was a question, if I remember right, what about the park area? So we're gonna be metered just like everybody else, correct, on the
Right.
usage, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna run to, is it running down, where's the hookup?
There will be a valve, or actually, a meter will be right at the top of the hill.
Sure.
That will go there, and then we'll run the line all the way down to where basically the well is now.
Yeah.
Because that's where they branch out, so so it'll go down to that point there. So it'll be metered up on top. We haven't yet, and I think that's what something as an Irish board, we gotta discuss, how do we build a park? Because for the snowbirds, the people that live up there, they're still getting billed monthly, so what do we do for the park, even though they're shut down, so. And what do we base as the minimum, right now, we're looking at the minimum for anybody in the park or anybody in the Dresser subdivision would be 3,000 gallons. If they use more than 3,000 gallons, then they have to pay extra. But what do we use as the minimum for the park, as to go from there, so. So we talked about that. The one issue that I said that did come up today, and we talked about, is that at one time we thought about running 1 meter to that Pettish would then be responsible for. So then he would have to cover all the people in the trailer, those people in the trailer park. The answer we got back from the USDA is if it's more than 12 units, that then becomes a separate system. And we know there's more than 12 units, so it means we're gonna have to put meters in the water lines to every individual. So everybody will be individually served. An issue that we ran into, and one of the reasons why we brought that up with them is, if you remember, we had there was a trailer on a property down in Leisure Lake, and they weren't paying their bill. And we tried to, I think we worked to try and put a lien on the property, and we couldn't. Because Sarah came back and said that you can't do that because they're renting a property, so you can't put it on the property. You have to go back after the owner. Well, the owner they went away, yeah.
She died.
They're both, her and her husband died, and the family didn't want to take it, didn't want to do anything, so I think we wrote that one off. But when Sarah told that, so we thought that was probably gonna be our same problem with Dresslers now. If we put meters to every one of those trailers and they don't own the property, how do you put a lien on them? But I think our discussion is that this is a water line, so we can shut it down. So we're in with the sewer line, like a Leisure Lake, you can't shut it down. There's no way to close it off, other than going out there and actually physically pulls the pump out or something, but this way, so we can work with that to not, so we do have that we didn't have at the other one. So for people that don't own the property that they're on, so but the
There's not a
USDA says we
possibility to
have
put a
to
lien
do.
against Pettish and either on that property.
There we could have.
Yeah.
Well, that was gonna be the stickler, and I think that's why we brought it up. Yeah, how do we go back? Because like the same thing, like it was like you're saying, that other property, we couldn't put a lien on the property owner, so we couldn't even put a lien on Pettish.
Yeah.
But we said maybe we don't have to worry about it because we can shut them off. We can go
That was
down
our
there next.
concern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close, so and threaten them with, so that, your water's gonna be shut off. So I think what, Mike, then we go back, we said what a 30-day, we went to, we'll give them 30 days, but actually it amounts to more than 30 days, because by the time you find out they haven't paid and you give them a 30-day notice, it's gonna be like 60 days before you're in there shut them off anyway, so that's what we're using. By using 30 days, we almost basically are using 60 days or something before we really shut somebody off, so.
Did we agree to the 30 then? I know there was.
There was, yeah. I think Emily, Stalson wanted, she kind of recommended 60.
60, yeah.
And I think we went with 30 because we said it's actually almost like 60 days anyway, because by the time they haven't paid their bill,
The bill's already a month old.
yeah.
Get their notice and by the
Yeah.
time that passes,
Yeah.
you're
So we
getting
get it.
close to 60
Yeah.
at least.
It should be easier for your
Well,
office, and we won't have the liens.
We have, you know,
You
like
saw
you
the
said,
video
you have
Leisure Lake one today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X amount of the easement signed and the contracts and such, so I think that's a good start.
Yes.
You know, you get a community meeting put together here, hopefully they can all, or most of them you can get, and then maybe it's door knocking, I don't know.
And following this, so we got the, thank you, Larry. We got the letter, so we worked with the attorney to send another letter out. To get that going. Because we really got to be pushing this because we're saying one of them is what we call the WIN grant. And that does have a sunset on it. And so hopefully, you know, if we ever get to push this job, they give us an extension, but we want to.
No, I think you certainly need to push this as much as you can,
Yes.
so, I mean, there's 95% compliance there, or people that.
Well, and the holdup's been those 4 or 5 people with the wells.
It's time to do it, so.
And if that's what I said, USDA says that's okay now.
Okay.
So if you want to do that, but like I said, you would have to. The other thing coming out of that conversation too is that, you know, we talked about the water is still being supplied by the city of Bellevue. And I talked with Abby from the city and I told her, you know, if whatever was going to be our process, if you decide to leave the wells in. And they said they have no issue with that. That's not a
Okay,
problem.
great.
All they would ask is that you
Okay.
just send them a copy of whenever you approve the resolution, send a copy of it. They would have had an issue if we hooked those people up and you let them have the well, because they're afraid of the cross contamination. She says, then they would want to review their agreement with us. And I don't think we want to get into that if we don't have to, so.
Amen.
Well, I appreciate all that information that I was
Yes.
supposed to know.
Yes, Mark, thank you.
No problem.
I had a page of notes, but
Yeah.
I don't know what I did with them.
Yeah, because we had
That was a week ago, what do you?
Yeah, because there was some lengthy discussion about as we're doing, and we just, and I say that the Matt is a notary, so for the people that come on Thursday night, if they got an easement, Matt can notarize it for them, so we can get that going, so.
And where's that at? I mean,
It's gonna be in the pavilion, right in the park there,
okay.
you know, on the north side,
Probably should.
Yeah.
Thursday night.
Thursday at 3:30 and at 5 is what we said. We said we're gonna be there at 3:30. And that some people come at 3:30, we give them just a small presentation, and we figure it's gonna be a lot of question and answer or individual conversation, and then we'll do it again at 5.
I know one of the big questions also too was an estimated cost per month, it's a
Yeah.
3,000 gallon, but I don't know if you come up with something.
We don't, we said
I mean, we
our
talked about-
target would be $65. We'd like to say $65, but we don't, but that all base, you know, that's gonna.
Did you
depend
talk
on-
to Abby about that? I mean, we talked about what the average is in the city of Bellevue. If you
We
could do
haven't even
that
got back to
times
yet on
another
that one, yeah,
1.5.
what the average price is for, what they, and it's, that was a good question. We didn't get an answer for, it, but we will.
Okay, so they can go up to 3,000 gallons. What's the normal usage? I mean, is Bellevue gonna charge us $3,000 for each hookup, or are they gonna actually
No,
charge us?
there's just for how much water comes through the meter.
By gallon.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Actual use.
Okay.
we've got, and I think, you know, that we, what was it, Andover, we upped, Andover was 3,000, and then we moved Center Junction to 3,000. It was like 2,500 or something. Yeah.
So what
And-
was the average 300 gallon word? I don't remember that number.
3,000 gallons.
Well, no, there
No.
was a 300 gallon number that come up.
Yes, I mean, who did bring that?
That wasn't a day though, that was.
They're trying to figure out where that came from. Okay.
Conversation was.
But yeah, but this is, but like I said, what we're finding is that Andover, very seldom do they go over the 3,000. Center Junction, very seldom do they go over the
Hi,
3,000.
you can come on over,
So-
Sam's in
So we're
here.
doing that. So
Okay.
we're working with them along those lines. to do that. But as far as, like you said, the fees, it's gonna be depend on the final construction costs and to make sure you get the grants and everything. And so that's what, right now, we're
we're all seeing that, we never know what construction costs are gonna be, and so. Thank you.
Appreciate the
No
update there.
problem.
And that is Thursday at 3:30.
And 5.
And then 5. Now, if both of you are coming, you might be posted. But then you don't come, it's good, no problem. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, and just one final thing you'll see on my agenda that Joanne Cavan, she did step in yesterday. And she did wanted to invite you to a meeting with Clinton County Pioneer Cemetery Commission on September 8th at 1 p.m. at the Clinton County Historical Society Museum in DeWitt. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss the differences between Clinton County and Jackson County Pioneer Cemetery Commissions. She also is inviting you to stop in Welton to view a cemetery which Clinton County paid to have it restored by an outside company. So with that, that's all that I have for the board today.
Okay, and do you have the
Yes.
resolution for us to sign?
I have, yes, I
We'll
have.
do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, at this time, we'll be joined by Todd Kinney and Sam Shea from the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Morning, Sam.
Morning.
Is it one? Yeah.
Still, not sure.
You saw that.
And your trip was good?
Yeah, Pine Street projects.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, I still had to go around this morning. I couldn't.
Wyoming has all new pavement, almost all new.
That
It
looks
was a little
really
pilot car
nice.
for a while, but
I have not been through there.
No, it looks great.
Yeah, I came through there the other day. It's nice.
Yeah.
so yeah, trip was okay. So came to talk once again about Hurstville Road intersection with US 61. You can open up the one that says ICAT report 5 years. We'll start with that one. So we've talked about this before. We've done a little bit of stuff out there. We're still missing some intersection cross T signs. There should be one southbound and one northbound that we don't have yet. There's a standard in place that we would mirror those on a 4 lane. So we'd actually have 2, one on either side, so that depending on whichever side you're on, you'd be able to see those. You see that intersection head warning. It's yellow with a black cross on it. So we've not been able to get those signs out yet. We're having trouble with the sign shop and then the maintenance guys and getting them put up, but we expect to have them done by the end of the year. In addition to that, so I ran some crash data. You can see kind of within that intersection area, we've had in the last 5 years, 11 total crashes. 3 injury crashes and 1 suspected injury crash out there. Suspected injury just means that the officer reporting thought there may have been an injury, but the person on scene declined. So the officer thinks, well, in the next 24 hours, they'll probably go to their doctor or to the hospital or something. So that's what that looks like. And then I also have, if you can go back to the folder.
I got a question on that one, Sam, if I can. How does that compare to the average, I can say average to the light road count intersection, regular type intersection? How do you compare it to, is that above, high or low or about average or?
Well, the injury number is a little concerning with only 11 crashes to have 3, maybe 4 injuries out of 11. That's concerning.
There's been several deaths on that intersection.
2, it says.
2. Okay, I can read that.
Well, it says 1. Well, 1 crash, 2 fatalities resulted from that same crash. That was the one that brought me here last time. So a few of the options we've talked about, the one that says Jackson County US 61 Hurstville. So this, if you can scroll down a little bit on it, is the collision diagram for all of the crashes. So if you'll notice on here, go ahead and stand up. If you'll notice on here, you'll see all but 1, 2, 3 of 4 of these crashes. So out of 11, only 4 of them were not crossing. All of these are through movements. Only one of them was a left turn. But all of these are people going from Esgate to Hurstville and from Hurstville to Esgate. And they're all broadside. This one ran off the road I believe we think that person ran off the road because they were trying to avoid a collision with someone going through. None of these are animal related. Only one of them happened in wet conditions. None of them happened in snow and ice conditions. Only one of them happened at night. So what we see is this recurring pattern of this through movement through Hurstville to Esgate, and more frequently, actually, it's Esgate to Hurstville.
Okay, is that the arrow that I see on the very top one there? Is that Esgate to Hurstville?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
that's,
down on-
so Hurstville's on this side, Esgate's on this
Okay.
side, 61's running this way.
So the little corner diagrams you got there, that's of what, where the impact was. You can't see what lane or where there was. but that's-
No, it doesn't, we don't have, I'd have to actually pull up individual crash reports from the officer on scene.
That's amazing to me that, you know, the distance, the sight distance that's there, especially from Esgate to Hurstville is wide open. I mean, there's no issues with. Unless they just get to the middle of the divided lane and just keep going without looking south. I don't know.
I think a lot of people are just shooting straight through.
Yeah.
Not stopping in the median. I think
Yeah.
we've discussed
That's what
that
it
a little
appears.
bit. So if we can open up the last one there, I think it's a JPEG image file. That one. So we can actually just zoom in over here.
Can you move it down at all?
So that's probably fine. The proposal we have, or that I'd like you to consider today, is to close the Hurstville side of the intersection only. So if you're coming down Esgate, you can still come out on 61 and come over to this intersection to jog back to where you need to be, but it stops all that through movement. It still leaves Esgate open to 61. Leaves slight out of distance travel. If you're up here, you have to come down to get over, but if you're coming this way, it's really hardly any out of distance travel at all. We're talking a few seconds out of people's drive. And it's this, the intersection here has much better sight distance. It's flatter. If you, I don't have Google Earth with me today, but if you're coming in from this way, you can see before you're ever even at the intersection, you can see the highway in both directions.
You don't have a report on that intersection, do you, Sam? Because I would say there's been some really serious incidents on that intersection also.
I can pull that up. I need to boot my computer up real quick and find it. We have it online, but
Does that put more traffic at that intersection and make it more susceptible to incidents?
it brings more folks. Certainly it brings the folks from Esgate who were shooting straight through. It's gonna bring those folks down to this intersection.
Even the intersection to the east of that 60, the Hurstville Road and that little cut across by the Interpret Center, right where your arrow is there. There's been some serious incidents on both of them intersections.
Yeah, I know when I
I don't
looked at
know
the
what it
crash
is.
count, before I came last time, I had that crash count with me. It was less. It was like half of what it is at the one to the north. I'd have to double check it now to give you an exact number, and I can send that to you. I can have that for you by the afternoon. But
I know one of those was a school bus was making a right-hand turn going north onto that road, and somebody was waiting at the intersection. They
On
pulled-
61, you mean, Larry, or?
Yeah, the school bus was going north on 61, turned right on Rockdale Road. And there's somebody waiting there to make a left turn to go south. And the school bus blocked a car that was behind the school. So the school bus is coming down, there's a car here, this car pulls out and kind of.
So I would say this, Sam, just from experience, and last night was one of them. So I'm coming from, I would say the east, and I'm coming towards 61 on that Rockdale Road.
So you're
So
westbound.
I'm going west, yeah, and I come to Highway 61.
Mhm.
For the school bus to get across there is dangerous. Because there's not enough room in the median for it to stop. You can get to the median, but you got to get cockeyed in there. Otherwise, you're almost in the southbound lane of traffic.
But it's more dangerous than having them go up first.
Oh, no, not at all. I wouldn't even go up there with the lights.
Kind of.
I would
So
never
I-
try to go south from the Hurstville intersection.
I did measure the medians also. The median at the Hurstville Escape Road is 32 feet wide. And the median here at Rockdale is 42 feet wide.
Okay,
So there's also a little bit more space in the
so
median.
I mean, you can get in there because there's a turn lane there coming from the north going south. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get in there cockeyed, but it's, you know, if
Yeah,
you got two semis coming down.
it's definitely-
61, I don't know if it's
Right,
gonna
it's
go.
definitely difficult for a bus.
Yeah.
Right, to fit in there, but the normal passenger car pickup truck, you should be able to. fit
So
in
is there an option to maybe put an egress lane coming south, coming off of there?
What do you mean by?
If I'm coming from the east, going west on Escape or on Rockdale. Could you put another lane going south that you could,
Like an acceleration?
yeah,
lane?
acceleration lane?
Yeah, we wouldn't typically. I mean, it's something we can talk about. We wouldn't typically do that, and that's because we don't. It doesn't meet driver expectation of those acceleration lanes, and then ultimately you have somebody merging
Left,
from their left.
Yeah.
And they're stuck.
makes sense.
So they're gonna speed up to 60 miles an hour, and if they can't get right, then they're stuck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
So we do that when we have sight distance issues, places to give people 1,000 or so feet of clear where the cars coming over the hill don't see them. But this intersection has pretty good sight distance. You can see.
Yeah, and I just can't imagine that, you know, that intersection there at the interpretive center, I just can't imagine the crashes that are there because there is good sight distance, you know, they're just.
Yeah,
it's
well,
busy.
that fatality was the result of somebody making a left, northbound 61 was making a left. It was a semi making a left onto Escape. And then someone coming across from Escape going to Hurstville couldn't see around the semi in the turn lane. And then the northbound vehicle was doing what they were supposed, just driving northbound at 65, 70 miles an hour. T-bone.
And the other one, that school bus system, it's the same deal. I mean, they didn't have clear sight.
There's a weird thing when somebody's sitting in that turn lane to make a left. I
Mhm,
mean,
there is.
that Escape Hurstville intersection actually has sight distance. We've measured it. It meets the minimums. It doesn't meet our maximums if you're on the Hurstville side. On the Escape side, it's got plenty of sight distance, but on the Hurstville side, it's a little more.
I think a lot of it's the angle of the road too, but removing myself from this chair and moving over to another chair as chairman of the Historical Society, they're very upset to think that they will close the Hurstville intersection. That's a historic place and a lot of people pull off to see it. And when I told them that there was a potential of closing that intersection, they said, what can we do to fight it? They want to be able to have people coming south and those going north to pull into the historic landmark that we have there. And it would be very upsetting to them. We've done a lot of planning to make it even better than it is now. The University of Iowa students came and gave us all kinds of things that we want to administer there. And I know that when I talked about it at a Historical Society board, they were livid to think that the Iowa DOT would close that intersection when it's right there at a national historic place.
Well, I think we're hoping for your support before we would do that. That's why. I'm here today. And it's certainly accessibility versus safety is a concern.
Sure, I agree.
We have these very.
That's why I've been talking to you about this for a long time.
Yeah.
So the fatality crash that occurred at Escape in Hurstville, that turning movement, if you move that turning movement and you have the same truck making that same movement at Rockdale, that same situation would occur there. Guys making a left-hand turn, heading northbound, somebody else is trying to cross that intersection, can't see, pulls out and gets hit.
Yeah, what we don't see is the same number of through movements at the next intersection. So
Of trucks specifically, you mean?
That's because a lot of people use the Hurstville Road to get to Escape Road.
Well, I think what he was talking about, the truck was coming
the truck was going northbound and making a left.
from Escape, making a
A
left,
truck
No,
or a
it was
semi?
northbound 61.
northbound 61.
Sitting in the left turn.
Making a left on exit on Escape?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was It
Okay,
was-
so tell me this.
The truck was here
So they pulled out and got hit by
and
somebody.
making a left.
But there's a
So
turn
the
lane
truck
there.
was just sitting in the turn lane.
Okay,
The northbound vehicle was going past the
Yeah.
truck sitting in the turn lane.
yeah,
The other vehicle was coming
coming
down
right straight
Esgate
across.
and going across to Hurstville.
that's just bad. That's just, tell me this, now, the law or the, if I'm right or wrong, when you're making a left-hand turn, if there's another car like coming south there, you're supposed to go past that car and he's supposed to come past you, right?
Yeah, but this was a through movement.
I know, but I'm just asking, that's still the correct legal way to make a left turn, right? You
In
don't, you
the,
don't turn in front of a car coming at you.
in that median, you do in a signalized intersection. So in a signalized intersection, I would turn left in front of you, turning left in front of me. We would just cross paths like this.
No, that's not the
But in a-
way I was
in a
trained. I
median
thought
like
everybody
this-
went behind because otherwise you can't see traffic coming from the other way. I've navigated that intersection for 40+ years, and that is a problem. Because when you go up there, there's cars coming from the south in the turn lane, and they'll just turn right in front of you. And they can't see what's coming because I am right there. They
Right.
can't. Unless I'm in that medium pointed west toward Escape, they can't see. They have to go around, again, around me, not in front of me.
In that situation with the unsignalized, with median, you're correct. You would come around and he would come around so that you're opposing each
Yeah,
other like that.
But it don't happen that way.
Right. Right.
Do they
And-
still
and-
teach that in driver's ed?
And I think
We gotta get some cars here.
people are making some bad decisions.
Yeah, you're right.
And,
Absolutely.
and there's only so much engineering you can do to fix bad decisions.
And I would agree, though. I think you see a lot of traffic, especially when they're opposing turning movements in
Yeah.
the median,
Yeah.
that they don't position to wait to turn, they don't get in the right spots.
No.
I don't know how you address that, because painting lines would be, that would be very difficult to do too. And the only, we're looking at a different intersection in Clinton County, E63. But they're really only, because when we did our traffic study on that, the only option would be to do like one of your R cuts or whatever you call those.
Oh, yeah.
But
J-turn,
the J-turn, yeah, but there's significant expense involved there. And I don't know if the traffic warrants it here, but that would be a way where you could take away the opposing turning. movements, But
Yeah, and last time I was here, we kind of talked about closing the median crossover to prevent people from crossing, but then we discovered that most of the crashes are people. It's not so much people making a left turn. It's that through movement, and it's predominantly from Esgate to Hurstville. Not, there's only the one from Hurstville to Esgate. The other 7 are going the other way.
could you keep, if you took out the median, could you leave this open for northbound?
Yeah, sure, we could remove the median and make it a veritable right in, right out on both sides. But the board was not supportive of that when I was here a few months ago.
What about acceleration lane going north from Rockdale? Well, just
Oh,
because it's on the.
Rockdale.
Yeah. Or from Hurstville, not from, I'm sorry, from Hurstville. Going at the 61 junction, acceleration lane there.
Well,
I don't think that would solve your problem.
with the crash history, yeah. The DOT's perspective is they're trying to, the crashes occurring from cars crossing through the median from the west side to the east side or vice versa.
Yeah,
So
so you're
you're-
to eliminate the crossing, and it looks like if we close just Hurstville, that would defer all the Esgate through traffic down to a more 90-degree.
The right turn
Set
on
up
61,
workers.
yeah.
Yeah, and they'd be making a right turn on 61, which is a safer movement generally than a left or a through. You're not gonna get hit on broadside.
I don't see
Yeah,
people
no.
having an issue with that. I do understand that the kilns being there is a,
If you could keep Hurstville open for right turns out. Anybody coming from the south wouldn't be affected to go to the Hurstville.
Right.
but how would you can't block the intersection, the center part, because
If you're coming northbound, you'd have to come up and go,
You'd have to
over,
come down to.
Yeah.
which that would be the only inconvenience is doing this.
Yeah, southbound traffic would have to go all the way down to the next intersection or make a U-turn and come back up at the next intersection, which
that's not good either.
I don't think I like that. But we could post it, no U-turn. And not that people. follow
So
the
even
signs.
coming from the west off of Esgate. signage, flashing lights, again, comes up to the point where does it help? You know,
Yeah,
the
there's
oncoming traffic, I don't know what you put there. It's a sign.
There's a large stop sign in place. We verified the correct size on that. And it's relatively new. It has the appropriate signage underneath it that says cross traffic does not stop. And then there's a sign in advance of that that says stop ahead. So it has stop ahead warning signs, the stop sign, the cross traffic doesn't stop sign, divided highway sign. It's all there. People are just making a bad decision.
Was it there before that crash?
Well, you'd said something about putting a lighted sign before you got to the intersection.
The walking
We've-
lights or whatever.
Yeah, we've done some signs that are traffic activated that have ping pong yellow lights on them.
Ping pong, there you go.
So when traffic is present, you'll see the lights flashing. So we did that in Dyersville. And ultimately we built an interchange there and closed the intersection. We did that in Springville on one
Yeah, that was the
fifty-one.
one that comes to mind, you know,
Yeah,
that
and
it's 55 there and it's,
they're getting an interchange in the next 3 years. That intersection will close. We're gonna build an interchange there. So I would say they have limited success.
with the
It
55
might-
even.
It might work here, but you know, the flashing yellow lights off to the side tend to not. I don't know. I suppose it would
Shows your
be an
attention
additional
when you go through there,
warning.
especially when they got 55 in their flashing, you know.
Yeah, it would be an additional warning if you're going across. I don't know that we would do it all 4 ways by standard. So it would be very similar to the Springville West 151 would be how we set it up.
I personally think that the billboards are distracting. I really wish they take the billboards out,
I think we agree.
to me, and then they light it. So you have this white light to light the billboard.
Yeah, and I don't think that helps much in the sight distance if you're sitting at Hurstville. for
It's
example, and
distracting,
you- And
it's-
you want to look left,
Mhm,
you do those billboards can be in your
mhm,
peripheral when you're
Plus
looking
the
at curve.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't care for the billboards either. However, they're there legally and they're on their own property, so we don't have a way to take them down. They're not on right of way because we wouldn't allow that.
Yeah.
And we thought they were awfully close, so we checked. I was like, wow, those things, I can't believe those aren't right of way.
Looking south coming out.
I think that's part of the problem.
Boy, yeah, I think it's like Sam says, if they're on Escape coming across, they're just shooting across, you know, they ain't looking south.
To me, leaving Hertzville open to make a right hand turn and go north. So if you're in Macokota and you want to head to Dubuque or something, you don't have to go out. a different-
Which, 64 is under construction. That's how a lot of people, semis and everything came
So
into town.
you
was
still
on
have
that.
that option. If you remove the median, then you effectively take away where you're getting most of your injured crashes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're okay with we would be supportive of the median, removing the median as well, or blockading it so you couldn't go through, but that would also eliminate your ability to make lefts.
Yeah,
That would make both intersections a right in, right out, but it would keep them open. Hurstville and Escape would both be available you'd be able to take a right to get off. So northbound could get onto Hurstville and Hurstville could go northbound, but southbound wouldn't be an option. And Escape would have the opposite, where southbound, you could get off of southbound onto Escape, you could get on to southbound from Escape, but you couldn't.
I still.
What's that?
so how
The
do
through
you do
movement
that?
is dangerous.
Center part of that.
We just remove it.
An ambulance, a fire.
So the
truck.
roads would still connect to their respective sides of the highway, but there would be no median crossover. So there'd be no way to get across the median to make a left or make a through.
So if you're coming north from Cogata, how do you get on Escape Road?
You'd
have
don't
to get
there.
You have to
At a
go
different
past
spot.
it.
Yeah, you have to go past it and come back.
Okay, so the
or
next
Go up to
intersection,
the next intersection and connect.
is that
across.
paved over to Escape? or
No, it's not.
No, we looked at that last time. Yeah, it's a gravel at the next
So would that
intersection.
make
to the
sense to
north.
pave that if we were doing that?
That's up to you.
How far is that?
We won't know.
Oh, it's half mile probably, but yeah, it runs over to Old 61 actually, and then you gotta make another left on Escape.
To get back. to-
Yeah.
Right, my snores.
Well, that's not a good option.
I think the minimal traffic impact comes from just closing Hurstville and then having folks just drop down to the next intersection over.
Because then they can go north and turn left on the Escape.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're north
you
on
close it,
61,
yeah.
you'd still be able to make the
Yeah.
left on.
And you
S gate.
still could access it from the south.
And if you're on S gate and you wanted to go north, you could still make a left. It would just be that Hurstville would no longer connect to the highway. Although I'm not entirely, we have not discussed at the DOT the idea of channelizing a right in, right out with Hurstville, where we could put in a raised median island that's kind of triangle shaped and would stop that through movement, but would still allow people northbound to make a right and people from Hurstville to make a right going northbound. But it wouldn't allow that through movement to occur.
Yeah, even the through movement, but this movement here to turn and go north, that's, to my mind, is almost equally as dangerous.
Yeah, I think all of these at grade median crossovers are dangerous, especially as traffic increases. And I think Macocata is seeing some growth on that side of town that's causing Hurstville to be kind of a shortcut. So I can come in
Which
from
is
Westgate,
not
and I
really.
can shoot straight or down Hurstville instead of coming down 61. And it would be my preference that they use 61 and get off at the interchange. But they're
I
not-
heard
they're
some
not doing it.
conversation about emergency vehicles, EMS, and did I hear a conversation over here?
We were questioning that, yes. I mean, how does
As
a
far
fire
as-
truck, how does a
Yes.
fire truck, if you close that intersection, the crossover, how
Get
does
on
it?
S gate,
Mhm.
coming from Macocata going north.
They turn and go to the interpretive center and then go north again.
No,
Oh,
you couldn't get on S gate if
they
they,
up to 91st or whatever that.
unless if they leave the medium open, you could.
Well, I thought that's what he was talking about, closing off the exit from.
No, we're just
Hurstville.
talking about the access from, you're talking about the access from Birchville Road to 61. close.
Yeah, what I've got drawn up here.
Yeah.
Is just showing just closing Hurstville.
Yeah.
The Hurstville Road access to 61. That's all I.
You still would have
mentioned
access
today,
to
but-
it going north, though, correct?
No.
No, you close it.
It-
But that's a
closed.
new discussion that Todd mentioned earlier,
Okay.
so I can always take that back. And we can take a look at that, because again, that would eliminate the through movement. But it would still leave. the
But you
right
couldn't
and
do
right
that
out.
unless you eliminated the median.
No, we would construct,
Oh,
we would construct a raised island. So if you've seen like channelized,
They would divert you around, making it through.
yeah, so there'd be a raised curb with pavement in it or grass or something like that. And it would force you to, if you're on Hurstville, you would have, well, you only have this choice. If you're on
You just
Hurstville,
go
but if you're
north,
off of 61, you could do this. So you could turn out, you could turn on, but coming across, it'd be a barrier. I think some people are still gonna make dumb choices because they're
Yeah.
not gonna see it.
yeah.
Okay, Mary, that's up in your neighborhood. You travel that road every day, several
Every
times a
single
day,
Every single day,
huh?
every single day, that's
Yeah.
my neighborhood.
She lives off of the Escape Road.
I guess you asked earlier, if I may join in, that's appropriate. You asked earlier about the comparison to they call it the Rockdale Road across to the pavement. Or do you have numbers? You don't have numbers for those.
Not with me, but I think it was about half.
Because the comment people make is it just moves accents from here to down here.
It moves the traffic. I would say that the crash type is entirely down there because of the site distance and the general
And you won't
perspective.
have
The
the
road doesn't
crossing.
have the curve in it. The road isn't going uphill anymore. It's flat down there. It's flat and it's a 90-degree intersection. Whereas up here at Hurstville and Esgate, you're climbing a hill on a curve and the intersection is skewed. So when you're sitting at Hurstville or Esgate, you're looking back over your shoulder.
You still have the through movement through the median, turning through there. at
Yeah.
Rockdale.
Yeah, my other question is, how do your numbers, you said 11 crashes in 5 years, and you didn't, I'm not sure the fatalities came into it. I wasn't looking at your screen, but proportionately in any other intersection anywhere, is that high or low?
The 11 crashes at an intersection
In 5
in
years?
5 years is not that high. But the fatality and
Now, you
injury
didn't know,
rate,
and I didn't get the number, you said only 2 fatalities and 11 crashes in 5 years?
I didn't say only, I said 2.
But when I
Pull
first
that
wrote
back
down your
up,
numbers, I
Bjorn.
don't think you mentioned fatalities at all, which I wasn't looking at your screen, that's what. that was-
Yeah, it said
two, and they're both from the
fatalities.
same.
You just didn't say, I was
Two
listening to your
fatalities and one
voice.
crash.
One crash.
2 fatalities in a single crash.
And one, but 11 total crashes,
Yes, right here it is. Mary.
right, and then 3 injuries, 1 suspected.
Right.
So I missed some of that, I'm sure.
And some of those, especially serious injury crashes, we count those in a similar fashion to a fatality. And the reason being, sometimes the difference between a fatality and a serious injury is the safety features in the car, the age of the driver, the health of the driver.
Right.
Sure.
So sometimes a serious injury to a 21-year-old driving a newer car with side airbags is different than a, say, a 65-year-old driving a 1980s pickup truck.
Yeah, I understand from that. I just wonder proportionally, and that, because that's a busy intersection.
Yeah, 11 crashes is not that many. Yeah, as I mean, 1 crash is too many.
Well, of course,
But 11 crashes in comparison with other at-grade intersections like this, it is not terribly out of scope with what we see in other intersections. But we also don't see the rate where 4 of the 11 resulted in an injury or fatality.
okay,
So it's the severity of the crashes,
Yeah.
it's more the issue.
right.
Yeah,
Right. I'll be honest, 11 crashes, and I'm not disregarding the fatalities at all, I don't mean to do that, but 11 crashes in 5 years. It's like, not that, it's like, that's not that many.
Minimal,
shy of the injury and fatality, we probably wouldn't look
Yeah.
at this either.
Yeah,
The
And that
injuries
was
and
one
the
bad
major
incident. So
fatality.
how do you put that into perspective?
well, and I was thinking that the one fatality was somebody coming from the north who turned without being able to see what was coming from the south.
Well, they definitely shouldn't have
They
come
shouldn't have
across.
crossed.
So the person from Esgate or traveling off of Esgate across to Hurstville did not have clear sight distance, but went anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, it is a driver error issue.
Yeah.
But we always look at, can we make it easier for the driver?
And I suspect also at that intersection, a lot of those crossover, and that's people who, just like me, who live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Those are the residents of that part of the county. That's who's crossing over that road.
I mean, I just got angry every time I come up from the south on there because if they were coming from the north, turning, I mean, they just shoot right in front of you. They just would shoot.
I just wait in the turning lane until everybody's on my
Gone,
side
yeah.
before I turn, even into the median. Because,
That's the smart choice.
well, thank you.
It's the safe way to drive. Yeah.
And that's part of our problem also is, are people, like I said, driving as education.
Bad and
people driving
distracted
safely.
driving.
Right. Right. And we certainly have that conversation at the DOT a lot about young people especially don't seem to have the same driver education that we used to see. I don't know why that
Thank you,
is.
state legislature.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that and I don't want to suppose. I just know that some things happen when you're like, well, that's not the law. And you should have known, you know, with people who don't know when to yield, making a left turn. Yeah. So we see a lot of driver education issues and a lot of distracted driving with people on their phones.
So, would you be able to come back, not physically, but with some options that we could look at?
I would consider, if you want, I can look at the right in, right out option at Hurstville. And I can come back and talk about what it would take to do the traffic actuated lights.
What about the-
Because the limited success we've seen with those, I don't know how supportive I can get our traffic safety folks behind that.
We talked about, yeah, the raised, but you still wouldn't be able. With that option, all that's doing is letting you from Escape go. What is the raise? What is the rate?
You could still go northbound from Escape,
Escape.
but you still couldn't hop, couldn't go straight through.
The race part would be on the Hurstville end of the road, is that what you're saying?
Well, it'd be in the median.
Be it-
It'd be
be
the
it-
median.
Yeah, so you could,
So you
from Escape, you could go south or north, you just couldn't go east.
True. But then from
You
61.
could go north yet?
Yeah, I think you could still make a left-hand turn there.
So going north, you could make a left-hand turn on the Escape.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest,
it
that
was
might not be your
raised?
most That's not, probably not what most people do.
No, that don't sound.
We'll see how he draws it up.
Yeah, this is pretty ugly, and we would make it look better than this. But
You're not
this
a-
gives you an idea. So
Oh.
we do like a raised median here. So if you're on Hurstville,
Hurstville.
you could come out this way, or if you're on 61, you could come in this way,
Okay,
but you can't get across.
so it's not in the
And you couldn't get
median.
across this way.
It's at the
So
turn.
this raised portion is not in the
sense.
median. That's actually.
Oh,
on
okay.
Hurstville.
So that's Hurstville. This is 61 northbound. So you can turn right into Hurstville and you can turn right out, but you can't get through.
Show
So
them.
from Escape, is there a way to make it so you can just go north? Right from Escape? I put this.
You
I wouldn't change Escape at all.
You
I
can do
just
that
leave
right
that as
there.
is.
But here's the Beacon
Escape side,
website.
stay the
brought
On the
up.
Escape side, I wouldn't change
Oh,
it.
because then, okay, but then you'd have that center part where they can't.
No,
Yeah,
this is.
so it would stop this through movement, but it would
Okay.
still allow a right in, right out at Hurstville.
I could live with that.
Okay, so tell me this then, so is that gonna, so the guy coming from Escape, he's gonna still come straight across there?
No, we can build this in such a way,
Okay.
like I said, my drawing's a little ugly.
Yeah.
But we can build this in such a way that, yes,
That's
you
almost
could,
impossible.
but you'll have to, it'll be really awkward, right? You'll almost have to go southbound on 60, on the northbound
And then
side of
turn.
61 and then turn over across it.
Okay, I like that.
People will try to though.
I mean, we can try and design it. to
Oh,
do that.
there, yeah,
Mhm.
so there you're looking at the intersection.
So if they did this, it would actually be illegal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and we would post it with signs that say no through movement.
There's the intersection we brought up for you.
Can you also get rid of the median?
I think that'd be fine. Then you could go north to the interpretive center. Or south to the interpretive center and then over.
Your signs would have to. be
No.
Yeah, so see kind of how we have this raised island here. Just imagine that way bigger, right in here.
Mm.
So then it would force people to make that
Go
right
north.
turn only, and if they wanted to go through, they could, but they'd have to like double back almost.
Mm.
So people are gonna, then you're really making dumb choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're already making a bad decision
You
that
got a
leads to
huge
the
sign there
collision.
that says right turn only.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we would put a sign up there that says no through
I was just
movement.
gonna say. So Mesgate would still be a freeway. either way.
What's that?
Yeah.
Doesn't help the fire.
Yeah, you
truck.
just couldn't
You
come
can still get
through.
on
So if you're over here on Escape, you
You
couldn't
can't
make
get
that
on
movement
Escape.
straight across.
Sure
But
could.
you
Get
could
on
go
Escape.
down and then if you're coming up Hurstville, you could still get on
If you're going
61
northbound,
northbound.
that's not gonna change.
But you could
Not a
still
bit.
go from Escape northbound. Park
Say
Avenue.
nothing in the median, it's
Yes.
exactly the way it is right there. The bump out is gonna come on Hurstville.
On the
Draw-
south.
It'd all be on this
Right
side.
there, it's a bump
So the
out.
question is, the fire trucks going north, can they turn left? onto
Nothing's gonna
Escape Road?
change there.
They won't be able to go straight across to Escape.
But they'll
So if
take
you're
the- they'll
here,
take the-
No,
You can't
and
get
he
over
said they're
here.
going
You're
north.
north on
Going north.
61.
You can go north on 61.
4 lane 61.
Yes, you
fire
can turn
truck-
left.
Yes.
So the fire truck can turn left onto
Yeah.
Escape.
Yeah, if they're coming this way, there's nothing, we wouldn't change anything in the
You just
median.
can't go from Hertzville across.
Across.
onto Escape.
Okay.
Yeah, and if they're
You
coming
can't
out
go
of
from
town. they
Escape
go
across
all
to
the way
Hurstville.
out. And, I mean, that'd be the shortest route. or
Well, they go by
fastest
the
route.
interpretive center, the Rockville one.
That might be this, at least you guys wouldn't be shut off an ambulance, a fire truck.
Right.
Yeah. that-
Now the
It's
trick
still
is
come
finding
across
a way
from
to
the
fund it.
west to the east.
Funded.
Find a way to pay for it.
That's the state, baby. What are we talking about here?
Top can
I think
sales?
we should share. We can talk to you about it.
That is a federal
C-step
highway.
grant.
Hey, that's a.
50/50.
So it's.
Is this city or-
Okay.
The federal should pay half, and the state should pay the other half. right?
Yeah,
Right,
sure.
I'm okay. Let's see if we can get it done and see what the cost estimate is
Actually,
before I come back and discuss any
With-
financial
With two
implications.
fatalities, we could get a T-SIP project
We could,
that's fully paid.
we could. I think there's plenty of options. I'm just saying, I don't want to leave here thinking that, and the DOT is gonna pay for it. We might,
Why not?
well, we might.
Okay, you heard that.
I'm not saying, I'm just want you to be aware that I'm saying we might.
Well, thank you
I don't
for
have
coming,
that authority.
Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see where this leads us, what direction we.
So can I throw something else in here?
Sure.
On Platt Street, there's a sign up that says, when are they going to finish it? Like the lawns aren't done yet from last year.
It's not a project.
That's not your project.
It's the city of Macoka's project.
Ah,
We
It's
just,
the state project.
we just kicked in about $3 million and, and provided a permit to do the work on our highway,
Oh.
but the city of Macocota.
So tell them people to call the city.
Yeah.
Josh.
3 million is what?
Pavement, storm sewer. What's that,
This
the
funding.
stuff we would have normally done. It ended up being program funds. It started off as being 3R funds, but then the cost went way up. So we ended up shifting it over to the 5-year program. So it's program funds.
Okay.
Trying to read
Thanks.
read where you're going with this.
I know you were.
Oh, you tried to do that. Hurry up, it's not to be about 20 minutes.
Can you come up with a layout and then come back and then,
I can ask, yeah, I can ask one of the engineers to draw something up.
so what the board has talked about as an option, see if you draw it up and if you get kind of concurrence with traffic and safety,
Thank you.
which would be a cost estimate as well, and then we can decide how we want to try to fund it. Is that we're up on here.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll come back and let the board see it before I assume that they're on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All righty.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You can come on up, please, then as soon as Mike gets ready for you. Proceed.
So I timed it right.
Huh?
I timed it right. I was on the phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, they haven't called me, so that's a good sign.
So if there's a fire call.
I think we got to a good place.
We are recessed. We can reconvene. We're being joined by Laura Rowling, Jackson County Zoning Administrator.
Hey guys, lots going on. It's like, I'm trying to keep my head above water, but I don't know that I'm succeeding, just so you know. And if it wasn't for Laura from ECIA, I would have already drowned. Because she's doing a lot of the heavy hitting, like the Board of Adjustment reports. She's doing those. She's been handling the press releases. I've been trying to handle as much, well, the day-to-day activity, but she's been the bulk of doing this. So it was a little late coming to you guys, but we sent you a report of the Board of Adjustment decisions for for August 22nd meeting. And then an individual draft of each decision. So the Phelps Board of Adjustment, one was granted with a contingency that they contact us regarding the neighbors agreeing on where the propane tank needs to be, the LP tank. Shekel, they did grant a variance to John Shekel on Mill Creek Road, allowing him to survey off 2 smaller than 2 acre parcels in A1 zone. So they granted that.
That's something the zoning board does,
That was the Board of Adjustment
board
does.
adjustment.
Right, so they basically granted a variance due to the hardships that were in place of trying to get rid of that second house.
So is that grandfathered into the Sebula schoolhouse? That's not 2 acres. We want to sell that. We need a variance on that.
You would need a variance to sell it. But it would have to, I mean, it doesn't meet compliance. I don't know how long it's been that size of a parcel.
30 years.
33 years.
So after zoning came in, or just about the same time.
I can't tell you.
I mean, you need a variance to construct anything.
Oh,
that's for
absolutely.
Sure, but
Absolutely.
but the structure itself
Oh.
will still be grandfathered.
Well, depends on what you're gonna use it for. So I don't know what the zoning is of it without looking.
Okay, we need to know what that is if we're gonna
I
sell
don't,
it.
yeah, I don't remember what it
Well,
is. I know.
it's,
Please,
Well, wouldn't
please pull up
would the
anything.
assessor be able to tell us that?
No, because they don't deal with zoning. It would be on the zoning map for,
Oh, okay.
they deal with classification for tax purposes based on use. We can look at the zoning map real quick, and I didn't bring a phone with me. But while she's looking that up, okay, so then we also had another variance that was granted by the Board of Adjustment out on 22nd Avenue, so basically just north of Walmart behind the road that goes to the Ikes. So there was a setback variance granted there. And the reason I'm learning that it's important to make sure you guys know this, because there is appeal dates. Like if you guys, hang on, let me get to it. Basically, there's 21 days and they shouldn't be building on these properties before 21 days when there's been basically either they've been upheld by you guys or the appeals period has passed. So just that's why I want to always make sure that you guys are aware of these.
So the one person I thought showed the property to was interested in putting a garage on it. Is that something what?
Let's see what the zoning is, and then I can maybe answer that a little better.
And there's a picture of it there. So there's a really big easement in the state line there.
On the side down here, there's a zoning layer.
It should say in the partial description or the partial.
No, it doesn't. That's the assessor's information, how it's being taxed. The zoning layer is only seen by here by dropping the zoning layer.
That's for Lisa.
That's for Lisa.
No, I didn't.
Hang on, I can't see.
How come I don't see a zoning layer.
There is. Pull it out just a little bit so I can see a little better. Click on districts. County, bottom one.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, so that's zone commercial.
I thought so.
So anything that's allowed in commercial would still be allowed there.
So that'd be 0 lot line building.
I'd have to look, I don't remember what the actual setbacks are on that.
Except from the highway.
It would, yeah, you'd have to be behind the right of way. Can you turn on the right of way lanes
Well,
too,
I think
Lisa?
this is surveyed. I don't think there's any right of way on the
Okay,
property.
sometimes we get lucky and there's not.
Under plan and entry. Yeah, and then turn on.
I mean, if you own the center of the road. you
Okay,
have
that's
more than enough
good.
Property.
That's good.
Yeah.
So basically, I'd have to look to see what the C1 setbacks are.
Okay. Just so we know
I
when we're gonna
think-
sell it.
right.
Well, this is all information that we're gonna have to put out there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But that comes
But
out
if
in
I
the
would have
work
known, I would have had that information for.
Well,
for
we're
you
gonna have a
guys.
work session. We're not discussing that right now, actually.
Okay. So, but yeah, so it's C1. So basically what's allowable in C1, I'd have to check to see if there's any specific setbacks. And I can give you guys the information of what is allowable, permittable use in C1.
So it's yellow. For that other property.
That'd be res, I think.
Huh?
Oh, that's M1.
Take that tape measure up there,
Yeah, where you want to measure
just straight across there by the, just see how wide it is.
this?
Yeah.
See one.
Or
13
13 feet.
13.
M1 is, what's the difference between that and commercial?
M1 is,
Industrial.
yeah, that's that's the light industrial. And I think you can have outside storage on that where you can't on commercial. And sorry, guys, I'm just not good enough to have this to
I
memorize.
just know that there's somebody that does something there.
Yeah.
I can't remember what is,
Both
what their
shops.
job is.
Yep.
Oh, that's a construction, isn't it? The M1 is construction. isn't it?
Yeah, light
Isn't it H-
industrial.
Isn't it
Right.
H&H?
I don't know what that one
It used
is,
to be.
but it'd be a light industrial, light.
Yeah.
Oh,
bait
yeah,
shop,
Darren and
yeah.
Shannon went, okay.
Yeah. I think that's it. There's a bait shop next to it.
And then the bait shop, I think, is next to it, that is no longer.
Yeah.
a bait
Oh,
shop.
Right.
okay, all right, yeah, I see it.
There used to be a boat sales there.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know of what that is. So the letter that I sent with it, basically, that I'm supposed to provide you guys with a written report of the actions to the board of supervisors of the effective dates of any granted variances. And if you guys have any action that you want to take, we need to take it soon. There'd have to be a public hearing and all that other stuff, but that's all in front of you. I won't read it.
So all
So
I can say is some of your board members are very complimentary to you.
that's all Laura. I'm sorry, Laura is amazing. She's making me look good and I really don't think it's me, but thank you.
I don't know, they've been very, very pleased with your leadership.
Okay, oh, and just to bring that up, I have been invited to the Kiwanis meeting on Thursday. I think they hit the bottom of the barrel, flipped over and found me, so.
I doubt that that's true.
Okay. But anyway, we had a meeting with our commission. I think that was the 17th. Anyway, the commission has asked that we work on a few things. And some of that is going to be text amendment to the ordinance. And you guys did receive that also. The text amendment application process. And just so that you guys are aware, anybody can make requests for text amendment if they wanted to see any ordinance tweaked or rewritten. But so our commission has to go through the same process as anybody else would be. They have to make application for text amendments. Those have to be sent out to the paper, you know, when that happens, and go from there. Which as of right now, we don't have any hearings set up for the September Board of Adjustment meeting. But they are working on making changes. Just tweaking things a little bit, but one of the attachments that we have on here is the amendment process. So there's a flow chart detailing out the processes that we have to adhere to when we're looking at making changes to the text. And when I say text, that's just the wording of the ordinance. And we have set up a calendar already for when our meetings are for each of them. So we have that, and that's to keep us in making sure that we have our notices published in the manner which they need to be published, which is no sooner than 10 days before a hearing and no greater than 20 days before the hearing. So that's why this calendar is so important for us. So that we know when, and just so you know, and part of the reason I want you guys to know this, these dates where we want the application deadline, they're important. So if someone calls you like today and says, I want to get on that September calendar because I want to start building. Well, that deadline expired on the 25th to get on the calendar for September meeting. And part of that has to do with there's a lot of work to put together the packets that go out to the commission or the board, and also putting together the public notices, and then getting letters within 500 feet of any neighbors that need to be notified of such. So those deadlines, the application deadlines, and I would not be surprised. I'd be more surprised if you guys don't hear from people that want to try to change those dates, you know,
It is
for their
what it is.
personal.
They have to abide by them.
That's
so
what I want to
that's
hear
the way
from
it
you
is.
guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And let me get back to that. part
And
there.
if they're
Some rules
uncompliant,
are
you
not
can
made
shut
to
them
be
down like
broken.
they did before.
Yeah, it's just
That's
trying
the
to
end
get
of it.
everything done in a timely manner. And then there is a possibility, but it can't happen right now. After there's clerical support, we might be able to move the date for the Board of Adjustment meeting another 7 days behind this. But we can't right now, because just getting them both out at the same time and not having another deadline to keep in my head is a lot better.
Fine.
Okay.
We'll address that when it comes.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, we have this spelled out, but some of the things that we were looking at is what are other counties doing? And the commission had a lot of concerns about some of our wording. And they did not like the occupancy compliance certificate. Because their thought is, who are we? Or the construction compliance certificate. And I tried to explain it, but my understanding was that the construction compliance is basically saying that this type of structure can be built in this zoning district. And then the occupancy is saying that it can only be used for what's allowed in this zoning district. But they feel that we're opening ourselves up to potential litigation if we don't make changes to that, because it makes it sound like we're saying this construction is in compliance with since we don't have construction building code, that we're saying it meets Iowa state building codes. But so they want to look at revisiting the wording for a construction compliance certificate and occupancy.
I think you might have to get some legal advice on that too. So.
Okay, and we're also watching how other counties are doing it. So
Absolutely.
Laura has sample text of Clayton, Delaware, Dubuque, Almaquee, Floyd, and Wright. And those attachments are part of your packet, but we really wanted to make you aware of that we are working on this, making some text amendment. Also, they have agreed, and I know you guys being out at ISAC this week, there was a lot of comprehensive plan that was being tossed at you guys, just like there was us. And our commission is ready to try to re-pursue that. And my understanding is that Dave Manning had did a lot of work before he retired, probably 2008, 2009. And that comprehensive plan never got through. And what my understanding is with the comprehensive plan, that it is kind of like your Bible, and that you don't have a leg to stand on in court if you don't have one of those, if you're trying to get something to stick. Also, some of the other text changes, which isn't in here, that we're talking about is the renewable energy, the solar, the wind. And then too, there's another thing I need to ask the commission about too, and that's going to be the, what do they call it? The ag tourism. How are we going to deal with that? And because they're, in all cases, they're not going to be like so-and-so's dairy farm that's offering different educational things on the farm. You know, just, it might be someone that's out in the country and it's like, they show someone how to groom a horse, you know, but that's not necessarily agritourism. So it's trying to get some verbiage for what is that?
Yeah, I
And
was curious.
And then do they
what
have
that
to, are they gonna have to adhere to anything else? Are they gonna have to have a special exception from the Board of Adjustment? What, and then you got that fine line, okay, farm exempt, ag exempt. So where do you cross that line?
They know what's gonna happen to Lawrence, Lori, so
I know.
we'll be patient.
I
I
know.
mean, we'll fill in and do the best we can to change it to where, you know.
Okay, and am I allowed to ask for bids or just quotes for outside agencies, what their charge would be for a comprehensive plan? Because it's something that you really don't do in-house.
No, that's true. You don't. We don't have a comprehensive.
No, Mike, I asked you that when I interviewed and you told me yes. That was a flood management plan.
Yeah,
I would say yes, you could go out and see what.
I mean, this is really important for the pipeline thing too.
Yes,
I mean, that's it's essential to have.
Oh, that was another thing I needed to add. That was it. Thanks. I knew there was something else out there that needed to be.
And we had a lot of conversation on that.
Yes, we did.
And is there already a lot of stuff through ISAC that's available for that?
Yes.
Other people's plans? Okay,
Jasper County,
okay,
actually, I have that email, somebody, I don't know where that came from.
okay. And I need to talk to you. Remember that girl, Holly, we were talking to? And I'm like, is that something I need to pay attention to? And you're like, yes. I'm like, what? But something about moving dirt.
Yeah.
I'll email her.
What the heck was that?
And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, well, and that wasn't even part of the class. That was just us talking in the hall between classes. Okay. But yeah, that was a good school. I learned a lot of stuff. It was really informative. And mind you guys, I didn't want to go because I was just like, I just don't have time for this. But I went, I'm glad I did. One of the biggest takeaways that I got wasn't during class, but it was talking to Johnson County guys. Their chief deputy was talking to him and I knew the one guy. So anyway, I joined their conversation and they were talking to me about flood management plan and asking me what I knew. I'm like, that I'm in charge of it. But anyway, so they gave me information about the flood management, the FEMA training in Maryland. And it sounds like all the costs are covered, the flight, the course, except for meals, which is like $150 the county has to agree to pick up.
Wow.
And it would be leave here on a Sunday and I think return on Friday or Saturday. So it's pretty intensive training. That
That's
they,
for flood management.
yes.
Okay.
And I was gonna see about trying to get into their January class.
Good time to go south.
Maryland,
Oh.
Maryland. It's like, no.
No.
So anyway, I was gonna see about trying to do that. And then also ISU puts on a class for planning and zoning that basically would include training for board of supervisors, people in my office, the commission, the board of adjustment. So I have the cost on that. We'd be able to set that up for sometime in January or February. It's $750 for the first 20 people, an additional $16 for any other attendee after that first 20. It's taught by Luke Sebring from Iowa State Extension Services. He would come on site for that training.
Okay.
And we had commissioners sit across from us and tell us, well, so-and-so thought we'd be good on this, but we don't know what we're doing. And so they do need additional training. And I've reached out to the city of Bellevue to see if they want to do cost share a little bit with us. I've also reached out to the city of Macokota. Matter of fact, I was talking to Josh in here and then he came and visited with me. And he thought one person maybe would be coming. I explained the importance of maybe the city council and any of their other, especially new members. And then we're gonna have at least one, we're gonna have one new board member here. So, and that would be good training for them so that they know their roles and responsibilities in the process. So I was gonna see if I would be allowed to schedule that.
I think it sounds fine.
Okay,
How many hours training is that?
it's like from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock and I am going to a training tonight down in Bettendorf. They've allowed me to attend free of charge. So they're not charging me to go to that. I think they feel sorry for me. So speaking of training, I'm gonna be asking for a budget amendment, guys. Lisa, you're gonna walk me through the process. It looks like Laura ECIA is being billed to the zoning office, which there's nothing in the budget to cover that expense.
Okay.
It was not part of that budget. So that part of the budget needs to be revisited and money added for. Also, we're talking about staffing. There's no money in the budget for staffing.
And
So,
we realize that.
okay, so that's gonna have to be part of that budget amendment. And then that training budget's pretty short, you guys. I'm gonna be asking for a little bit extra, I mean, to cover like that big meeting. Lisa's crossing her arm. This is like, so, yeah, so that training budget was way short, but, and then too, I don't know if, we'd have to start, a little bit now and a little bit next year. I don't know what it would look like for comprehensive plans. So that's why I wanted to start getting a few quotes and seeing what that was gonna look like.
Well, Jasper County said we can use their format that they have.
Yeah,
I'll look over that.
But part of that is just organizing the public input sessions.
That's true.
So there's a lot of other outside work and things that happen besides just copying someone else's text. So, but there's and this to walk us through it, so we do it right, so that we're not leaving out components that have to be covered. At least, even if we wanted to copy someone else's a little bit, we'd still have to make sure it fits Jackson County. So, yeah, because it's not a one size fits all. And another thing, I know that we want to wean me off Laura or the use of ECIA and try to rely more on people within COSO. Part of the issue with some of that, and I can do some of that, but their ordinance is different than ours. So for me to ask a question about how I'd interpret this, theirs is different. And they would not have the same interpretation necessarily as we're gonna have. Or the same rules.
I get it. That's your interpretation.
That's my interpretation.
Make it.
They
There's
can't
no
answer my
director. Make the
questions.
interpretation.
But I've been leaning a lot on Sarah, and there's plats. Lisa, we talk. We had some more I need to talk
Good.
about. So, but anyway, I think I covered the bulk of my list. But yeah, so I'm going to Bettendorf tonight. I'll take the county car. Yeah, they're not charging us, but the Iowa State extension training, I'll try to set up for January or February.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any questions for me? Okay.
Is there any further business to come before the meeting today?
We want to set up a work session for that school.
I did not
You
use
need to
the
have a
rest
work
of
session.
this.
I guess we got it on our agenda.
Let's have a work session if we got time next week afterwards or something for that.
Yep.
It's on there. We can do that.
Just a quick report. I went to the EMS board meeting last week. Sounds like there was everyone there. There was 9 agencies there. Everyone was there except to do list. So it sounds like there's a definite need for EMS director. We're gonna have some special meetings and come with recommendations for us. Be it either job description or if it's full-time, part-time, and if we can even share with Clint. So ongoing process, and they're gonna get together and have some work sessions and come back and report to us.
Sounds good.
So would they come up with a budget too for the levy? It's your
Levy for what?
EMS.
So you got a lot
That's
of work
no
to do.
part of even our EMS director. That's
Okay.
EMS essential services has to be taken to a vote.
They have to vote. The public, and it has to pass by 60%.
Yeah.
You gotta form a committee.
This is just for our
There's a lot of
EMS
work.
director
Yeah.
for their system standards to comply to each EMS to comply with their system standards, basically. So they're gonna come up with, things have changed in the last 7 years since we last hired one, so they're gonna come up with a job description and what we may need. That's all I really have on that. I would say we could put a work session together maybe next week, hopefully if we have some time. Talk about the Welcome Center.
And possibly next week. Larry, could you give us a report on the green space?
Okay, but when's that meeting? That's been put on hold.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your leadership will come to leadership, is that where you
No.
discuss that? No?
No, it's just Macocota Green Space.
Yeah, and that's been put on hold for a couple months until,
Okay,
for some reason.
Next Tuesday.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.